Hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's session of The Good, the Bad, and the True. It's your girl, Anaya Angel, coming through with my co-host and homies for life, Mr. P.A.T. and E-Man. What's up, fellas?
What's good out there, listeners? What's good out there? It's been a minute, but yeah, what's good? What's good?
Oh, man, it has. We back like cook crap. Yeah. Okay. Had to get that out. I was waiting to say that. So, man, we have some awesome topics to discuss this week, fellas. Definitely some serious stuff going on out there in the Matrix, as our guy PAT would say.
Yep.
We are going to jump right into it and talk about my girl, Miss Symone Biles.
So before we get into it, E-Man got a PSA to get out there.
Get him out, sir. Go ahead.
Before we start. So for this first one, it's actually a good shout out, but I want to give a shout out to Young Pharaoh and whatnot. Not just, because he's self-made, but that brother's been doing a lot, and a lot of people don't give him his respect, but he is single-handedly creating so many things and opening up a lot of job opportunities for a lot of our people out there. So I got to give him the respect and I got to give him the shout out. That's the first thing and whatnot, Now my next PSA and whatnot. So this is for all my nerds out there, because I was in the nerd group on Facebook and they stated, who was the better tactical fighter, Cyclops and Captain America. Now, before we get into anything,
and I was the one that posted that. By the way,
PAT was the one who posted that, and I had called Cyclops a hoe, which he is. He is not a tactical person at all. Him and his optimal bling blast ass needs to go sit over there and think he leader of the X-Men, knowing the simple fact Wolverine over there messing around with his girl and whatnot.
So we don't have to talk about this separately because I missed this post and some good stuff.
So like I said, Captain America is my favorite superhero, and I will hold my man Cap down because he's that damn good. So like I said, Cyclops needs to sit his ass in a corner, his whole ass and whatnot.
Yeah, this is gonna have to be a separate episode.
Yes.
Don't worry about that. We can make it a separate episode. Don't worry about that. Now, before we get started, I got one more thing to say. I'm just letting everybody know that Lil Wayne's a hoe and he's not that great as a magician. I'm just saying. Did I just call him a magician? Yeah,
wow.
A magician. Yeah. So
we're also going to have a separate episode about that.
Yeah, we're going to have a separate episode about that. Right. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to be going on my guy, Lil Wayne.
No, Mr. Tariq can go meet his ass into a trash can. Okay. Believe that and whatnot.
We talk about mixtape days, Lil Wayne, sir. And for
so he can go take his little a milli into the trash can, a trash can.
So you were never a fan of Wayne at all?
I was never a fan of Wayne. I was always a big fan of BG.
But even in the mixtape times, with dedication and no ceilings,
I couldn't do it.
When mixtapes were going heavier than albums,
I couldn't do it.
He wasn't.
So he just don't like Wayne at all.
I never liked Wayne at all.
Even when he was in his prime.
Not even in his prime.
Like the Carters, and you didn't like any of the Carters?
He can take the Carter and he can go shove it up the Carter trash can. That's what he can do.
This is crazy. Okay, I know some people didn't really fuck with Wayne the albums, but most people who are into the mixtape circuit would be okay, yeah, Wayne was definitely holding shit down.
Yeah,
during that whole what was it 2009 or 2008, Kat, when it started? He really started dropping the mixtapes and stuff.
I mean, he's really been dropping mixtapes
for a minute, right?
A minute. I even want to say mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s. But I think it really started getting he really was getting into his prime, probably 2007. I'm just throwing a year out there, but
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. And during the mixtape time, listen, I'm very comfortable with saying during that period, Wayne was one of my favorite artists out there. Like, if not at that time, my favorite for the mixtape circuit, because dude was just dropping mixtape album after mixtape album with fire beat. He was killing the words. And I know what everyone say about the whole Gilly the Kid situation. And I get it. Trust me, I'm not taking anything away from Gilly. Like, I'm one of the main people that would argue, wait a minute, don't forget that, you know, he was mentored by Gilly the Kid. However, dude came out himself and said, you know, I didn't write every single track and I wasn't a part of every single thing Wayne ever did. Right. And all I'm saying is during the mixtape circuit time of like the 2007s through like the 2012s or whatever, Wayne was holding shit down. Like, his
he can take that shit back to the 99s and 2000s. That's what he can do.
You can't be hating on my guy like that, sir.
Honestly, when the first Carter came out, Carter came out, that's when you really noticed a serious shift in his lyricism. Right. Like, exactly. I was like, damn, this nigga really, like, I mean, he was always spitting like that even before then, you know, since The Block Is Hot. But yeah, the Carter was definitely like,
Carter was lyrical.
Yeah, it was very
lyrical.
He
wasn't lyrical before.
Right, exactly. And like, it was like, damn, this nigga took like rap steroids or some shit. Like,
he must have took something.
It felt like he took like rap classes or something. Because like Hot Boys was okay. There was some lyrical content there, but it wasn't like the Carters where he was like dropping metaphors and he was just on it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could see a clear distinction between the Hot Boys and all of that stuff and the Carter album.
Oh yeah, big
and
time.
The mixtapes.
Big time, yeah. Right. And after the Carter, the Carter 2, I mean, at that time he was really putting out the mixtapes. And I mean, he was just, it's like he just snapped.
Right. I'm sorry, maybe because I'm too much of a DMX fan and like a Redman fan. I'm sorry.
I'm a fan of them too.
But I'm sorry, but like Wayne needs to go. Like, when I think about the Carter, I feel like I see like a toilet bowl and just throw the album in there. And
oh my gosh, I cannot with it.
And then the toilet bowl water just be spinning around, and then the album can't go down the toilet. They'd be like, damn. So you gotta like push it down there and be like, finally it flushed.
Oh my god.
Oh, we're talking to somebody who's never been a Wayne fan.
Right,
period.
Exactly.
So,
I've never been a.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Wayne well, fan. Because you've never been a fan, I can let that slide to a certain extent. But like lyrical content, man, dude did his thing on the Carters and his mixtape. Like, I don't know what's going on now. In my opinion, now, like, I can't.
He's trying to be a T-Pain part 2. That's what he's trying to do.
Honestly, I think after like the Carter 3, and I really didn't like the Carter 3 like that.
Right.
But around that time, because, you know, and that's when he really like blew up, because he had that like that Lollipop song or whatever, and like he was getting on everybody's songs. Really, he was like featured on a lot of shit. Like, he was just getting on every song.
That's true. And there was a lot of songs I didn't want to listen to because I didn't want to hear.
But yeah, it's like around that time, like it's like he kind of just like his content fell off, you know, even though he was consistent. He was he definitely stayed consistent and he was on everything, obviously. But yeah, it's like he just, in my opinion anyway, he just like fell off content wise.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, I feel you there. I'm 100% on the same page with you. Like, I don't know if it's like all of the syrup or what's going on with him, but he's definitely not the same Wayne. I hope that, you know, he's able to get back. Yeah, that scissor is really doing a number
on that scissor. Sipping on that sip.
I was just like, put down that styrofoam cup, man.
Let that red cup go, sir. Please. Well, yes, sir. Okay,
I think you're doing a good job, but I'm not promoting drugs. But yeah, whatever you want to do, man, you keep drinking, because that means I ain't got to listen to you no more.
Lord, and I'm happy. Have mercy.
I'm happy.
Okay, well, thank you for your PSA, sir. And before we actually get started and we're about to jump in, listeners, I do want to also make another quick announcement. As always, here on The Good, the Bad, and the Truth, we definitely do not shy away from sharing our opinions on any subject. But please note, it is never our intent to purposely offend anyone's lifestyle choices or ideas or ideals. We are definitely all individuals and have our own opinions on different subjects. And this is definitely a forum for us to share those, but never intended to exclude anyone from our points. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right into our first subject, which again, my girl, Miss Symone Biles, recently dropped out of the Tokyo Olympics. And our official question is, would Symone Biles have been criticized harshly if she were a white woman? So I'm going to go ahead and start us off here, fellas, because this is one that I definitely took, some real time to consider. I looked into the situation so I could make sure I fully understood why Simone was dropping out and also the implications of that, right? And, my opinion on the matter, and to specifically answer the question, would Symone Biles have been criticized harshly if she were a white woman? My answer to that is yes and no. And just to elaborate there, I say that because I believe this matter has multiple considerations. I mean, there is definitely some truth to the fact that, Black athletes in general face harsher judgments than their counterparts, right? It doesn't really matter what the subject is. Just in general, they face harsher consequences. But specifically when it comes to behavior and mental health, it's like there's really no consideration given to Black athletes at all. So I feel like the overall overarching issue here is that when it comes to the mental health of Black athletes, it's not even a consideration to some. I mean, so in other words, like, okay, we're talking about the Olympics. And since the Olympics is such a major event for all countries, right? Anyone who dropped out definitely was going to be judged. I truly believe that. I don't believe that if it was like a white woman, there wouldn't have been some judgment there. There definitely still would have been some judgment there for sure. But to answer the portion of it, harshly criticized, I think the reason that Simone is so harshly criticized is because she's a Black woman with mental health issues. And for those who only care about the outcome of the Olympics, and especially have some slightly racist, even though they don't want to admit it, undertones to them, they're pretty much of the mindset, I don't give a shit what her reasons is. She should have stuck on the team. And it's like, gymnastics is not a sport where anyone can afford to be in a bad mental state. This is not, okay, I was in a bad mental state, I had an off game, like with basketball, right? I was in a bad mental state, so I didn't shoot my normal percentage, or I was in a bad mental state, running, so I went slower than I normally would go. Gymnastics, having a bad mental state doesn't fly in any sense of the word. They could seriously injure themselves, possibly even to the point of death if they make the wrong move. Yep. So the fact that the fact that she decided that, hey, I'm not in the right mental state to continue was actually very courageous of her. She did the right thing, not only for herself, but also for her team, because negative performances could have overall retracted from the team's score, right? So for me, the answer is, yes, definitely was going to be some judgment thrown her way, regardless of whether she was Black or white. But the overall issue is that Black mental health, when it comes to athlete, is just not a factor for some people. They don't care. Another prime example is Naomi Osaka, right? Like, look at all the crap Naomi went through because she decided not to participate in the tennis tournaments because her mental wasn't there. And it's like, how can you really fault her and expect her to continue to play when she was dealing with things that caused her severe anxiety?
Sorry to cut you off, Night Angel, but that is definitely true. And when you look at a sports, and for me, I work in sports, and this is something that, you know, I'm part of. But when it comes to, like, you know, sponsorships and whatnot, see, that is what drives, you know, these huge sporting events, you know,
right?
Every single last one of them. That's why they don't really pay, because, you know, these sponsors, you know, because they got to get their money's worth and whatnot. So that's the reason why they don't care about these athletes. It's all about basically it's their show, you know.
Yeah, and that's disturbing, right?
And it is disturbing.
Another example that I want to mention is Sha'Carri Richardson. And for those of you all who don't know, Sha'Carri Richardson is the track and field star who was from the United States before the Olympics even occurred, a young Black woman. Before the Olympics even occurred, she was qualifying for the world races, and she won, but was told she wasn't going to be allowed to participate in the Olympics because she returned a positive marijuana test. Well, what wasn't considered, in my opinion, was the fact that and let me preface this by saying, yes, she knew the rules that were that she could not have a positive test. But what wasn't being considered is when she decided to smoke, it was immediately after receiving the news that her biological mother had died from a reporter. It wasn't even a family member or etc. that told her. She was doing an interview and the reporter says to her, "So how are you feeling with your mom passing?" And she wasn't even aware at that time. And the fact that people still just gave her, you know, the third degree because of her choice, even though she was clearly dealing with a severely, you know, mentally traumatizing situation, is another clear indication of just how much people do not care for the healthy mental state of Black athletes. You know, and that's really unfortunate and sad. But personally, I am proud of Symone Biles for doing the right thing. She made the right decision for not only herself, but for her team. And her decision should be looked at as courageous, because at the end of the day, it took a lot of just guts to step up and say, you know what, I can't do my best here. I can't do my best here for myself. I can't do my best here for my team. So I'm going to go ahead and gracefully bow out. Simone, you have my full support. I'm proud of you, Chica. You're still the most decorated gymnast of all time. For everyone who don't know, not men or women specifically, of all time. So go ahead, do your thing, lady. We're with you. We're super proud of you. That's my thoughts on the matter. I'm going to go ahead and throw this to Mr. PAT. What say you, sir?
I like how you called her Chica, by the way, though.
Yeah, I like that too. That's right. Yeah, that was a good answer. That was a good answer to the question. These questions are so funny when I think about it.
I think all our questions are funny.
But, you know, I mean, we frame these questions for a reason, obviously. But to answer the question, would Symone Biles have been criticized harshly if she were a white woman? My answer to that is, I don't think she would have been harshly criticized if she were a white woman. I can't think of a time when a white female gymnast, or athlete in general received the level of criticism that Symone Biles got. Now, I'm aware that Simone had a lot of support. I'm aware of that because there were a lot of people who supported her, myself included, and I'm sure everybody else on this panel. You know, we all support her. But on the flip side, there still was the criticism. Criticism coming from people who don't know what she's gone through in her life. Criticism from people who know nothing about gymnastics go wrong and how, just as Naya touched on, criticism from people who sit on their couch all day and watch TV and don't compete on any level. Criticism from people who cancel their gym membership within 2 to 3 months.
I agree.
I mean, so we're getting, you know, the criticism is coming from all those angles. And I just think it's funny, honestly. I just think it's really funny. Now, obviously, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But seriously, when it comes to the people who had negative things to say, I just can't take it seriously. I just can't. Now, I'm sure I'm going to hear that the negative comments have nothing to do with race. Well, I beg to differ, because race is always involved. Whether people want to acknowledge it or not, it's always going to be a component, period. And I say that because the Black woman, as we all know, is the most disrespected woman on the planet.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, the Black woman is the most
preaching, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, the Black woman is the most disrespected woman on the planet. Now, yeah, all women get criticized. I do understand that. And whether it be a white woman, Latina, Asian woman, like that did what Symone Biles did, I'm sure they would have got some level of criticism, but not nearly as much as the Black woman. Let's just be real. And again, Naya touched on this, but it just seems like Black athletes, especially when it comes to mental health, don't get any respect, don't get any level of respect in that regard. It's basically to the point where people are just dismissive of Black athletes and their mental health. It's basically, well, nah, you just got to perform. Like, fuck your mental health and what you're going through. Just perform for us, make us happy, and that's that. You know, that's pretty much how it is. So, you know, yeah, all women would get criticized, but the Black woman is criticized much harsher. Also, when it comes to Black athletes, you know, it's like people think they're not human. Basically, they're just not treated as human beings. And we know there's a whole history of Black athletes who have been disrespected from the past all the way to the present, and then I'm sure in the future. Now, if Symone Biles were white, no, she would not have gotten as much negative feedback. She might have got some, but she wouldn't have got as much. And I say that because typically people see the white woman as the damsel in distress. The Black woman, not so much. So when it comes to the Black woman, it's a lot of that strong and independent bullshit.
That's a really interesting concept. And I want to piggyback off that. Only simple fact is that when you say like, you know, the white woman is like, you know, the damsel in distress, what hit me was Superman, you know?
Pretty much, yeah. Like Lois Lane.
Superman really just the whole Superman concept, like Superman's always saving Lois Lane, you know? Yeah. That's what just hit me right now when I thought about it. But that was a really interesting concept, but I'm gonna let you continue.
Yeah, definitely. It's that whole Superman, Lois Lane type concept. Even we can even talk about Ninja Turtles and April O'Neil. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's other cartoons. Sir. Yeah, there's other cartoons out there where the white woman is the damsel in distress. So that's just how they're looked at in society. They're looked at in that way. It's like they're fragile, but the black woman, they're not, that's not them. Like the black woman is definitely not in that space. Going back to the whole strong and independent thing, while some people could say, well, Pat, what's the issue with strong and independent? There's no issue with those in and of itself. There's nothing wrong with being strong. There's nothing wrong with being independent. But I think the problem comes in where it's been used so much on the black woman that basically it just puts them in a space where they have to like really fend for themselves and not be able to be protected.
Ooh, you are preaching, sir.
And I hope I put that properly.
Sir. Say it louder for the ones in the back, please.
And I want to make sure I'm wording everything correctly because I know this could be a touchy subject, but I think that's where the whole strong and independent thing becomes a problem. It's this whole strong, independent black woman stuff that just has been pervasive for a while now. So when a black woman decides to fall back and focus on their mental health, and in some cases, their physical health, it gets seen in a negative light, because when a black woman does that, you're like, whoa, hold on. What are you crying about? What are you like complaining about? Hold on. You supposed to be strong and independent. You're supposed to just, tough it out, because, we don't see you as human.
Oh my gosh.
So
you're me chill, sir.
That's true. I ain't gonna lie about that. That's true.
He is hitting the nail right on the head. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But it is so refreshing to hear a black man speak these words, because we black women have been fighting to have our brothers understand exactly how we feel. It feels like the world is against us. The one person we're supposed to have supporting us is the black man. And then you turn around and you see all these images, or you hear all these comments about black women being ghetto and black women being ratchet and black women are gold diggers and all the Kevin Samuels of the world who try and depict us as, just ridiculous creatures who don't care about, being supportive to black men or, just generally being feminine women. And it's so crazy to think that, there are black men or just people out there in general who really think that black women are just sitting around all day like, yeah, you know what? I'm so independent. I don't need a man at all, to the point where, we're just going to live our lives alone. And that's our goal. Like that's the entire goal of every black woman. It's ridiculous,
Yeah,
so
ridiculous.
It's just so refreshing to hear you. I'm sorry.
Well, of course it's ridiculous. That sounds ridiculous. Like, that just sounds ridiculous. So
Exactly. And I just appreciate the two of y'all just even making those comments. I'm sorry, PAT. Go ahead.
I love black women. I love black women. Everyone knows that.
I appreciate y'all chiming in, and I'm glad y'all agree. I'm glad you agree, Naya. I mean, it's true. This is, unfortunately, this is the reality, and I think that is why, like, Symone Biles, Naomi Osaka, it could be even Serena Williams, and any
that woman
black
is
athlete,
goddamn beautiful.
I love her so much.
They're basically treated a certain way because they're black women. They're just treated a certain way, and they're criticized harsher because they're black women. So and I already spoke on why that is, but Yeah, you know, going back to the question, if Symone Biles were a white woman, no, she would not be criticized as harshly. Would she have been criticized regardless? Yeah, I mean, you know, once somebody takes a step back from competing or performing, especially in something like the Olympics, you know, that's on the world stage right there. So yeah, anybody, any woman, any man, anybody who takes a step back and just decides to, you know, focus on their mental health, or even in some cases it could be their physical health, whichever. But in this case, mental health, yeah, people are going to criticize regardless, because people want to see athletes perform. They want to see their professional athletes perform regardless. And yeah, athletes for whatever reason are just not seen as human, especially black athletes. I think it's
never going to be seen as human.
It's like, it is the worst for black athletes. So anytime a black athlete shows their humanity, how dare they show their humanity? You know, like anytime they show that, you know, people just like, hold up, like perform, and that's it. You know, I don't give a fuck about what you're dealing with in life or what your mental health state is. You need to perform for me, for my enjoyment. You know, that's how they look at it. So anyway, just to wrap what I'm saying up so we could get to E-Man. Yeah, Symone Biles, she wouldn't have been criticized as harshly if she were a white woman. And, you know, I'm sure there's people out there who disagree. And I know there's people who do agree, but I know there's people out there who are going to disagree. But come on, let's look at reality.
Let them disagree. Just like
right. Exactly. Well, yes, thank you so much for sharing, Mr. PAT. Great stuff there. Definitely agree with you. Mr. E-Man, we're going to go ahead and throw it to you to wrap us up. What say you, sir?
Thank you so much. First thing first, before I, get into my thoughts, I just want to say, I love black women. I do. They're by far the most beautiful creatures in the world.
Hey.
All right, just putting it out there and whatnot. I love women, but I love my black women. Now, so when I heard about this situation, it didn't shock me at all because I'm not shocked by anything. But it was very interesting to see what would be the outcome of it, And of course, there was backlash, And the Olympics only come around 4 years, That's when it comes around. But if you can think about any gymnast out there, I guarantee, unless you really follow them, you wouldn't know their names and whatnot. So in my eyes, Symone Biles was that, that person that was picked, she was handpicked, and groomed. So, and knowing she's very young, but this is where, how we have these backlashes, and this is how things get started, So there was going to be criticism on anything she does. And what really hurt was there was not many support behind, her decision, That's what made me extremely mad, that I'm like sitting here, I'm like, yo, this, and many people don't understand that, this is a young black girl, who has an amazing talent, showing it off to the world, millions and billions of people.
Yep.
She's still a human being, she can get sick. Yes, she can have mental health issues, she can get injured, she can have personal problems, she can also have private problems because she has to separate her life, from her personal versus as Symone Biles, the Olympic, gymnast and whatnot, because I tell everyone, you get to see the gymnast until you see her go on different platforms. Then you might see what her personality is like, but you won't actually know what she's going through, daily, because when the Olympics come, she has to perform, and that's what everyone looks for, and that's what everybody wants. And because everyone was upset that you didn't get what you want, what do? You cry like babies. That's all. Cry like babies. Be like, when, Simone didn't want to perform because she had mental health issues and whatnot. Like babies. Cry babies.
I'm sorry, but that man was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, just and I'm ashamed at everyone who didn't support this girl. Ashamed at all y'all. For real. Like, I'm really ashamed. We talk about we want to do better and be better, but y'all go out and act a fool and do the same shit and whatnot, So I felt like it could have gotten a whole lot worse and whatnot. Not because she's black, I feel like it would have been more harsh, not just because she's black, because she's so well known. That's why it could have gotten a whole lot worse, a whole lot worse. Because I think that story hit for like a week and whatnot. And the comments I heard about just her not performing, I was like, you guys ain't serious. This can't be true. No, like really, People's telling me, that's her job to do it. I'm like, do you guys know how many people towards those who do the Olympics? Do you know they don't get paid as much? Do you know many of the field events don't get paid as much? Do you know that the basketball players get paid more and they have sponsors where they can actually don't do anything? Like their rooms are 10 times better than those who actually compete in events, that they worked, throughout college and whatnot, and they only get it like at least 4 years, 4.5, all depending if it's the summer and winter Olympics that they have to prepare for it, where they spend most of their money to do what they do, how hard it is for many sponsors to sponsor them and whatnot. Like it's extremely hard and whatnot. Versus as your basketball players, it's extremely easy because they know what they can draw in and whatnot. That's why a lot of people put pressure on the athletes to compete, no matter what they're going through, because they use this term called adversity, with the professional athletes, so they can literally push through it. So then they can talk about like, I did it, so now you can do it too and whatnot. I'm like, nah. If you feel like you can't compete, take a step back, and it's okay. It's all right. What she did, and I was proud of her. Like I was. Many athletes wouldn't do that, because they know they'll lose sponsorship. They know they'll lose this, and I got to commend her because she's a very young black woman. She's not like, she's not like, she is a very young girl and whatnot, because there's more Olympics she can compete in,
Yep, she can.
But just because she didn't do it in this one, everyone wants to be like babies and whatnot. So for all those who are babies, this is what you need to do and whatnot. You need to go find someone to wipe your asses and whatnot, because it ain't happening over here. I'm just like, I know that too. You know what I'm saying? Go wipe your asses. Go figure who's going to wipe your asses.
Is crazy today.
Yeah, you need to go find someone to go wipe your asses, because y'all need, a little bit of baby powder in y'all diapers.
Baby wipes.
Baby wipes and some baby powder.
Baby wipes.
To get your asses together. Because I ain't going to let y'all keep disrespecting these young black women just because you want a little bit of entertainment and whatnot. Go figure something out, man. Go figure something out.
Respect.
And to end my thought on this, on IG and whatnot, I actually saw, I think the homecoming parade, like her neighbors actually threw her a parade when she came back. I thought it was very respectable, because many, when you live, being pretty, I would say, I don't like to use for celebrity, but pretty known, where you're seen on television, and you live amongst the average population, many neighbors don't care. Some would just see you, as that, you're my neighbor. But I find that it was very respectful for neighbors, to do something like that. That takes a whole lot of, not just courage, but like, that you really respect her being, part of your community as, as neighbors. And that's something like, I have to commend, So I definitely give respect for that. But like I said, like it could have been extremely harsh for her, but they just, like the media and everyone else, they created the story, they roll with it, and they try to do the best they can by not destroying this young girl's image. So all I'm saying is basically, as my final thought, all you crybabies, go get some baby powder in your diapers and whatnot. Because the simple fact is, you can cry all you want, it's not your party. You can cry all you want and whatnot, and go sit your ass in the corner. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you for sharing. Good stuff, fellas. I appreciate your thoughts on that. Moving on to the next subject, we're going to talk about this silly ass guy, DaBaby.
DaBaby.
For those of you all who don't know, DaBaby is a rapper, not to be confused with Lil Baby. Yes, there are grown-ass men with the name DaBaby and Little Baby rappers.
I still don't think that's an issue, though. Yeah,
I just think it's weird. Like, it's just,
very
the
weird.
whole, like, naming thing, and then DaBaby actually choosing to, like, wear an actual diaper around the whole situation I just don't, exactly. It's like weird as fuck. I don't even know how to like articulate myself about it, because like I just find the whole thing just crazy as hell. But so the subject we're going to be diving into is, and the specific question rather, is DaBaby's over apologizing a sign of being buck broken? So for those of you who don't know what this background is, and we're actually going to throw this to E-Man to give his thoughts first, but what the background is on this story is DaBaby had a concert recently, definitely made some comments that ruffled a lot of feathers, to say the very least, and then has decided to apologize for those comments. So I'm sure each of us will dive a little more into it as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this to E-Man to start us off. And again, the question, is DaBaby's over apologizing a sign of being buck broken? What say you, sir?
Well, of course he's buck broken. Like, come on, wet behind the ears, because he's a baby. What do you expect, But like I told everyone, see, this is what happens when you don't feed the baby, you don't change his diaper and whatnot, and you don't give him his food, and no one pays him attention. This is what happens and whatnot. You see? So I hope he learned a very valuable lesson and whatnot. When you forget to burp the baby, feed the baby, and making sure that, his diapers change on time and whatnot, this shit wouldn't even happen and whatnot. But oh no, gotta let him do his thing. He went over there to go do his thing, and look what happened and whatnot. So, and this apologies that you keep throwing out is because the simple fact is, DaBaby ain't making no money, at the moment. I don't know how many deals he has. I don't know if his deals are guaranteed, non-guaranteed, half 50, doesn't matter and whatnot. But that was on you. I mean, towards what you said, it didn't bother me at all. But if whatever you choose to do behind closed doors, and you do it how you want to do it, that's fine. That's cool and whatnot. But I don't think the world needs to know what you said and how you said it and whatnot. I felt it was uncalled for that and whatnot. Just keep all nasty comments that you got going on to yourself, so you don't fuck up shit, But you got people who be feeling themselves a lot, and this is what happens, You end up, I don't even want to say the word, but you end up not just buck broken, but yeah, You get wet behind the ears too much, man. By meaning, you know, you don't know how to act right because your slave master put you in place and whatnot. I'm sorry, but I had to use that term and whatnot, you know? So I'm not gonna, it's hard to defend someone who not just made himself look like not just an asshole and not just like a jackass, but you do it to yourself, bruh. Like you really do and whatnot. Like you just do. Like I don't know what else to say. Like you really put yourself in these situations and whatnot. You know, I saw the video on IG. I laughed my ass off because I thought it was hilarious. Everyone else is like, you know, damn. But I keep telling everyone, you know, this LGBTQ community, they got some very powerful spokespeople, you know. They're not an actual community. They just got really people who are, you know, big spokesmen and they're just willing to like destroy you and whatnot, you know? Because for me, I'm not scared of them and whatnot, but I have nothing hateful to say about them. But I'll be real about the situation because I know the truth about them and how, you know, how their whole thing started. But that's a whole nother story from that. But DaBaby, you know, this is what happens when you don't follow rules and basically they put you in check you know, and you're going to probably keep apologizing. Oh, you got something to say, you got something to say, PAT?
No, I was just saying big time. You said they put him in check. I said, yeah, they put him in check big time.
Mm-hmm. You know, because I remember, there's so many situations that's happened behind this. Didn't Kevin Hart go through the same thing? My man Kevin Hart was apologizing until his height even got shorter and whatnot.
He did. Yep, he did apologize.
Shit, they got this nigga apologizing, not just on national TV. They took my man's hosting job, and he still had to apologize on that one. I was like, damn. So I told Kevin, how short do you feel now? You know? Pretty short still. But yeah. But yeah, you know, they know who they messing with. They know who runs them their checks. They know and whatnot. They try to act big, you know, because, you know, now I'm at 300 million and whatnot. I'm like, nah, bruh. You're at their 300 million. They're just making sure that you don't fuck up, my man, and whatnot. Because when you fuck up, you already know they're going to get that spokesperson to put you in check and be like, you know what? You better say sorry and whatnot. You better say sorry, you know? So, DaBaby, you can keep apologizing. But like I said in the beginning, when it comes to DaBaby, can y'all make sure his diapers change, make sure he's fed right and whatnot, and make sure you birth the baby before he come over here acting like a fool and whatnot. So somebody didn't do their job, you know? And that's how I'm just going to end my thoughts from there, you know? Do a damn job, making sure he's fed, burped, and wiped. Like, it's not that hard, but y'all need to go figure it out for your damn selves. So, you know?
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to share. So I'm going to go ahead and speak on this next. And I think this is, for me, definitely an interesting question. So the question officially is, DaBaby's over apologizing a sign of being buck broken? And I'm going to say absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't feel like it's a sign of him being buck broken. I feel like it's a sign of him trying to save his career after making idiotic and unnecessary dumb fucking comments. I mean, the idea that it's related to buck breaking to me is ridiculous, because the definition of buck breaking, according to multiple sources, is the use of sexual violence against enslaved men as a punishment for wrongdoing. I'm going to repeat that. The definition of buck breaking, according to multiple sources, is the use of sexual violence against enslaved men as a punishment for wrongdoing. So in this context, it clearly doesn't make any sense. There's obviously no sexual act happening against DaBaby. And even if someone's argument is, okay, well, we're using the common definition of it now because, slave times are over. Well, that's my point. The common definition of it now doesn't make any sense. The term no longer applies. And to be honest, I feel like it is being overly used in ridiculous ways to imply that Black men are somehow being emasculated if he's made to apologize for something he did. That is crazy to me. It's like Black men can't apologize, or if they apologize, they're being emasculated. That's a problem in our community.
Anybody can apologize.
But he isn't being forced to apologize. He chose to apologize. That's my point. I can tell you how I'm confident in saying that. He has since removed the apology from social media. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have, once they started removing him from festivals, he went on social media and removed his apology. That is a conscious decision by him.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact is he still apologized. I mean, he removed it because I did see that also, but I mean, it's done already.
That's like apologizing to unapologize.
Yeah, but exactly. And my point is, you're both proving my point that it was his option to do it. His money was affected, yes, but he put his money in jeopardy. He made those comments. He needs to stand on his own consequences. Like, for me, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because we're saying, oh, when DaBaby apologized for what he said, for the comments and etc. he made, it was buck breaking. But just a few sessions ago, we were talking about Nick Cannon apologizing, and it was, because his money was in jeopardy. What's the difference in this situation? DaBaby's money was in jeopardy. He started losing sponsors. He didn't apologize because someone put a gun to his head and said, we're going to emasculate you as a Black man. Apologize right now, or we're going to pull this trigger. He apologized because he started fucking up his money because he made completely unnecessary comments. I mean, this is who DaBaby is in general. It's not about defending one group over the other. It's not about saying he's wrong for his comments, he's right for his comments. I mean, personally, I don't understand why anyone who is a straight male has spent so much time concerned about what the LGBTQ community is doing. Why the fuck do you care so much? Like, that's my personal opinion. But that's not the only thing that DaBaby did that day. That's not the only thing DaBaby did that day. He also, that same concert, he went right after Meg Thee Stallion. The very first thing he did was brought Tory Lanez on stage, as if to purposely throw a jab at Meg Thee Stallion, as if Tory Lanez shooting her in the foot just because she didn't want to argue and got out of the car with him and was trying to get out of the car with him was okay. He's clearly misogynistic. He's clearly a fucking nincompoop, and he deserved, because he didn't have to make the comments that he made, to feel the repercussions of it. His comment, and if you wasn't sucking dick in the parking lot, had nothing to do with his show, and he purposely wanted to throw a jab at the LGBT community. For what? I can understand if there was some kind of premise to it where, like, before the show, two people were caught sucking dick in the parking lot or something, then maybe it's understandable. But other than that, this is just a clear case of someone having to deal with the consequences of his actions. That was very obvious to me the moment he took that apology down. If it was true buck breaking, he would not have the ability to take the apology down, because he would be forced to be emasculated and deal with having to apologize, even though he didn't want to. He basically said, oh, y'all want to withdraw me from the festivals? Y'all not going to let me perform? Well, then fuck y'all apology. I'm going to take it back, which is a conscious decision that he made. It's just not the definition of buck breaking. I feel like people learned about buck breaking and then just went crazy with the term. And I'm not saying
don't know how to use
two
terms correctly.
Right, I'm not exactly. That's my point. Different
definitions too, though. That
but that's the point. That's
so here comes exactly the thing. So sorry to cut you off now, Angel. I'm gonna break a very quick etymology lesson right here. So the reason why many words have definitions is because they derive from different things. Like when you have an origin, it starts from somewhere. But these words they have many different origins that create these words. So when we use it in the English sense and whatnot, just because they have so many different defines based upon how they were created, everyone uses them all in bad, I would say, they use it not in the bad sense, but they use it incorrectly. And that's what confuses a lot of people when words are being used. So,
but the problem with that is you devalue the term when you do that. If you start
and that's their goal. That's the goal. If you
start throwing, it doesn't. So then it's the individual's responsibility to recognize what the goal is and to make sure they're using it properly.
Of course.
If you start applying it in every situation where it's not applicable, you take away from the value of the word.
That's why I blame that some of y'all need to go back to school for.
Right. Well, but see, I give a little more credit to the masses. Right. I think, yes, there are definitely some ignorant people who just don't understand what the definition of buck broken is. But at the same time, there are some people who I like to call hoteps who watch a few documentaries and videos, and then they start using these terms willy-nilly in every fucking thing they say and do. And I'm sorry, but when you do that, you devalue the term. I
call them fake conscious people.
Exactly. And I actually watched the documentaries as well as did a lot of research on buck breaking. It was a real thing. I am not denying that.
Of course. And it was a real thing too.
Yeah, and it was something that was actually very prevalent in the Caribbean. A lot of the Caribbean slave owners used it much more so than the American slave owners did. And it ended up actually creating something that they call sex farms, where the Caribbean slave owners were going to different farms and emasculating and having sex with Black men so that they could humiliate them if they acted out against them and prevented other slaves from following them. Trust me, I am not saying being buck broken didn't exist. I am not saying that there isn't some relevancy to a certain extent today. This case is not one of the situations, in my opinion. DaBaby not only made the homophobic comments, which were completely unnecessary, but he also took actions against Megan Thee Stallion for no reason that were completely toxic and just misogynistic. This dude in general is a complete asshole. And this is not his first offense. This is not the first time DaBaby has gone completely ridiculous. He has punched a fan before, or allegedly punched a fan before with multiple witnesses there, a female fan. And she did not physically harm him first. Who does that? He is actually acting and behaving like a baby. And that is fucking sad. He is taking his name entirely too literal. But to answer the question and to wrap this up, is DaBaby's over apologizing a sign of being buck broken? Not in my opinion. It's a sign of him realizing he fucked with his cash flow by making completely ridiculous and unnecessary homophobic comments. And he tried to make up for that with his non-sincere apologies. And a sign that it wasn't buck breaking was A, it don't have anything to do with him being sexually violently assaulted. And B, he 100% on his own fruition removed the apology. Someone who is being mentally manipulated doesn't have that authority and ability to do it, especially in the context that is being suggested. That is my opinion on the matter. I'm going to throw it to Mr. PAT to wrap us up. What say you, sir?
Oh, before you say anything, PAT, I just want to say basically we don't love them hoes. So, but you can continue. So yeah, we just don't love them hoes. I'm sorry. I just had it on my mind. After when I was finished talking, I was like, my mind was like, yeah, we don't love them hoes.
He had to get that out there.
I just had to get it out there. I just had to. So yeah.
Oh man. Okay. I'm sorry. This is funny to me. And oh man, how do I follow up that response?
I was a little passionate, definitely.
Yeah, you definitely were. I mean, I feel what you're saying. I'm not gonna lie. I in a way, I disagree. I mean, I agree in some senses, but then in other senses, I disagree. So, so with Buck Broken, and by the way, I'm the one who came up with that question. I'll just put it out there for the listeners. PAT came up with the question.
But just to clarify, my response is not directed to you per se, because my response is generally, because I said hoteps and you are definitely not a hotep.
No, I know you weren't responding. I know you weren't responding directly to me. I mean, and the question is it's a general question. It's not really to respond to each other on the podcast.
And multiple people have been talking about that, so it's definitely a fair question.
Right, and and to clarify, it's definitely a general question for everybody. For us and the listeners. And the reason why I brought Buck Broken into this specific thing is because buck breaking, and you already described it, and I mean that is the right definition, but like I was saying before, definitions, well, certain words take on different definitions over time. Now it's the same thing. It's about emasculating, or I should say demasculating the black man, but it doesn't have to necessarily come through sexual violence. So people use buck breaking in the sense of it being done even on a corporate level. Like actually, Tariq Nasheed, he has the documentary Buck Breaking, which I got, and I watched it. Thought it was a great documentary, by the way. And he also had a episode on his or a session or on his YouTube channel. It's called Corporate Buck Breaking. And when I saw that, I just thought the title was interesting. And I actually didn't watch the whole thing. I just listened to bits and pieces of what he said. But what he was saying, I was like, okay, I see where you're going with this. Dr. Boyce Watkins mentioned buck breaking when he was talking about Nick Cannon over apologizing when he was accused of anti-Semitism. Do you remember that clip on Instagram, right, E-Man?
Yeah, I do. I think I was the one who chimed in on that, actually.
Right.
Only because what Nick meant to me, and for me, Dr. Boyce Watkins, like me and him have like a hate-love relationship. Like there's shit that, I agree with him. And then, sometimes I'd be like, nigga, I don't agree with you on that shit. So, and at that point, what you were saying was, definitely true. And it falls back to the same thing about DaBaby. Like, but here comes the thing. You see Nick's situation, he said something, that wasn't, he was actually just speaking truth on something versus as DaBaby just being DaBaby. you know,
baby.
I think in all fairness, though, it all boils down to, and of course, VAT, apologies for interrupting there. Not that you get that. But I think what it boils down to is even whether or not the person actually over apologized is a matter of opinion. I just think that to take the term buck broken and use it so freely, regardless of whether or not you feel the term has evolved, devalues it. Because if you start using it in every situation where a Black male celebrity apologizes, you take away from times where it is actually an appropriate situation. It is not a sign of buck breaking every time a Black man has to apologize for his wrongs. Black men do things wrong, just like any other human being. Black men make mistakes, just like white men make mistakes, just like Black women make mistakes. We start to blur the lines into toxicity when we start saying, if you over apologize, then you're buck broken as a Black man. We got to be careful with that, because we already have this community where Black men are fearful to go get the appropriate mental health because it's looked at as a sign of weakness. And so that's where my concern and fear comes in. Where do you start drawing the lines with that? If you start using the term too freely, it's going to be very difficult to decipher when it's appropriate to say, this is a matter of a male needing to evaluate himself, because Black men need to do that just like everyone else does at some point.
Yeah,
Black men are capable of making mistakes. In this situation, DaBaby made a mistake. And I don't see this situation. If anything, I could see more so, even though I still disagree with it, I could see more so how Nick Cannon's situation could possibly be construed as buck breaking. But that's way more so than I could see for DaBaby, who just made homophobic comments. His comments were completely homophobic and unnecessary. Like, there's no way to get around that. Nobody said anything about two dudes sucking dick. Nobody said anything about the LBGT community, no GTQ community. There was no premise whatsoever for him to make those comments. And I just worry that,
unless he does it though. So.
Well, you know, and what people do in the privacy of their own home, to me, is none of my business. I think everyone should have the opportunity to live their life the way they see fit. My concern is that if that term starts getting thrown around, and just like any other term, where, and first of all, it's a slightly offensive term for some. And because it almost always alludes to why a Black man is gay. And come on now, that to imply that every Black man that is gay is buck broken is ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't even address someone who was making that claim. But when you start throwing that term around, like as freely as people are doing, without understanding the premise of the term, not only does it devalue the term, not that I think it has value, but not only does it devalue that term, it devalues any term when it is not used properly or overused. If it has so many definitions, how do you know when it's the appropriate time to use it?
I mean, for every word, you don't know the appropriate time until you study the etymology of the word and where it originates, so it can be used correctly in the correct sense.
Not for every
people
word.
Don't get.
Not for every word.
No, for every word. So for every word, because you're
telling me people have to know the etymology of every word before they use it, the origin of it.
I mean,
people know the origin of every word.
That's ideal, but I mean,
that's the ideal. But
nobody's gonna know the origin of
exactly.
You're not gonna know because you have to really study it. You know, but
that's going to take certain people to do that. A lot of people aren't going to just, pick up.
Exactly.
They're not going to pick up a etymology. What do you call it? An etymology with dictionary.
Right.
Yeah, they're not. A lot of people just aren't going to be picking that up left and right. Some people will. Some people will, but people won't do that.
Most people will not.
Yeah, most people won't.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. So now I'm gonna chime in and say, like, how the fuck that we got all these smartphones but nobody can download an app? That's all I'm saying. That's all.
People are lazy.
I mean, yeah, that's
lazy fucks.
I mean, because I have the dictionary app. I mean, like, I'm always looking up words and, but everybody's not going to do that. Like, that's just the reality.
Period.
A lot of people aren't like us where we look things up and try to get deeper into stuff, and people aren't going to do that. But, so basically you touched on a lot of things, and I'm going to try to...
Should have went last on this one. That's what I'm thinking. You should have went last.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to try to address
everything.
Y'all know so much passion comes out of me.
And that's what makes the good, the bad, and the truth what it is. So it's all good. And
I feel like, Pat, right now, I think you just need to come out with a very nonchalant comment, and I think we can pick it back up.
I mean, that's not going to end it off too good. I mean, I definitely got to speak my piece on this whole thing. And now, of course, I got to respond to some of the stuff Naya said, because like I said before, there are aspects that I agree with her on, but then there are other aspects where I disagree. So to address the apologizing, so I just want to make it clear that there is nothing wrong with Black men apologizing. Like, there's nothing wrong with making an apology. Apologizing isn't a bad thing in and of itself. So that's not an issue. And I don't think people really see that in particular as an issue. But again, when it comes to these types of things, whether it be DaBaby, Nick Cannon, Kevin Hart, there's a power dynamic going on. And, these guys, they're working for the white power structure. And they're projecting themselves as strong Black men, which, okay, fine. And they're just saying whatever they say. Okay, fine. But then when what they say causes problems, they have to all of a sudden walk what they said back. They have to walk it back, because now that white power structure that they work for is basically putting their foot down and saying, oh no, you need to apologize for saying what you said. And if you don't, we are going to take these opportunities away from you. If you don't apologize, you're not going to be able to make money like that.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. So I definitely agree with that sentiment.
So now with buck breaking, again, this goes back to, I guess, corporate buck breaking, because of course it's not like sexual violence. Like, it's not that going on, at least not that any of that we know of anyway. But it's not in that sense. It's the emasculation part, because at its core, buck breaking is emasculating Black men. And I think myself and others who use the term, and with that term, I don't use it loosely like that. When I'm using it, there's a reason and a purpose for it.
I agree.
And in this sense, I'm using it and saying I'm, corporate buck breaking, not buck breaking that took place during slavery. Right. I'm talking about buck breaking in the corporate sense, where the Black man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying where the Black man or the Black celebrity in these situations are being emasculated because they're basically being placed in a position to apologize for comments that they made, regardless of, whether we agree with the comments or disagree with them. They're still in a position where they're pretty much forced. And I know forced isn't probably the best word to use, because nobody's forced to do anything. People could do whatever they want, but I mean, their money's getting fucked up, so it puts them in a compromising position.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just have this question while it's fresh on my mind. But the way that you're relaying this implies that it is, in fact, it's what you actually said, is that it's emasculating because they're being forced to apologize. Yeah. Emasculating and being forced to apologize doesn't equate for me. Emasculating and being forced to somehow participate in homophobic homosexual acts, or being forced to somehow do something that loses your masculinity equates, but apologizing doesn't equate to losing your masculinity for me. That's my problem. That's where my concern comes in. Is that we're appropriating those things, and that's dangerous, because just because someone is made to apologize, regardless of the reason, doesn't mean their masculinity is being stripped. Are you all of a sudden going to not have a pineal gland if you're forced to apologize?
Did you just say
or whatever the term is? I'm trying to use the proper term for penis.
Penis. That's what you got to say.
Because it wouldn't be like offensive.
Come on, this is an adult program right here.
Isn't the pineal gland the term for penis?
We just say penis, or I mean, you know, you already mentioned.
I don't want to say the C word, and I damn sure don't want to say the D word. So I was like, I'm gonna say, okay.
There's penis, nothing wrong saying dick.
You already mentioned the D word earlier. Well, in regards to maybe comments,
Yes, you did. There's nothing wrong saying it's okay.
I didn't even realize that I dropped that. Okay. So the penis dick. But no, it also
dick.
It's just no. So let me be clear. Pat, I think you are 100% spot on with the fact that corporate America most certainly puts their foot down whenever they feel like Black people in general are getting out of line. I think they definitely do not value us the same way that they value artists of other cultures and races and etc. There's no question there. Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head. You're 100% spot on. My major concern is with associating emasculation with apologizing. I think that's dangerous.
Well, here's the thing. So like I was saying before, apologizing it's not necessarily just apologizing that I'm associating with emasculation. I'm talking more so in this context, and when we're talking about DaBaby, or when we mention Nick Cannon and anyone else in that regard, I'm talking about in those contexts where they're basically being placed in a position to apologize for something that they said. I'm not talking about just Black men apologizing for something that they actually did wrong. You know, wherever or whenever, that's not an issue. You know,
he actually did wrong in this situation, in my opinion. But
I'm looking at the power dynamic. So I'm looking at, because I'm, like I said, these guys, they work for the white power structure, and I'm looking at the fact that they said something. You know, as men, as grown men, they spoke their mind. They said whatever they said. Okay, we got that. People might agree, people disagree. We got that. But these same grown men are now being coerced. I think that's probably the better word. They're coerced to apologize. It's basically
I love it.
like
I totally agree with that. That term works for me.
Yeah, and it's like basically like, nigga, you better apologize, or we're gonna strip these opportunities from you. We're gonna strip your money from you. You know, it's pretty much so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the whole power dynamic of it. So in that regard, that's where I'm saying there's an emasculation going on, because as a man, and really as an adult, I mean, you know, women too, but in this case, a man, you have power in the things you say, sure. And you want to say
words have power.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Words have power.
Absolutely.
You know?
Right, words do have power too. But even just speaking, saying words, period, just speaking your mind, as a man, is a sign of strength. And when you are placed in a position to apologize for something that you said, especially within a power dynamic, such as white supremacy, in that respect, in that regard, I should say, I mean, it does get seen as buck breaking, like, and again, in the corporate sense, because they're in the corporate world, they're in the music industry, or they're in the entertainment industry. So that's where I'm going with it. But apologizing is not an issue. Just in general, apologizing is not an issue. I'm speaking more in this context where, they're coerced to apologize for things that they have said.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for sharing, sir. I definitely agree with you in certain aspects on the coercion side of it. So I definitely understand.
Real quick. Or before we really end it off, I was also going to say, so with this whole thing, it's another power. It's a power play. It's a power play, because buck breaking also came into this whole thing because there are certain communities out there who just want to make people bow down, basically. And one of my theories is that since there has been so much talk about racism and white supremacy, the media figured that they should highlight some type of comparative bigotry in Black people. So basically, Black people either have to be accused of anti-Semitism or homophobia or both. The media has been attacking.
That's very interesting. I'm gonna chime in on that, by the way.
Yeah, it's a comparative bigotry they're trying to, they're coming out with. So the media has been attacking high-profile Black men for the most part. And I think what that does is take some of the heat off of racism and white supremacy and the quote-unquote the white man being the villain, and it's the Black man who gets made to be the villain instead. But I say I don't have much more to say on this matter aside from the fact that DaBaby apologizing is just yet another Black celebrity placed in a position where they have to bow down. Like I said before.
Correct.
Yeah, I think I was definitely with you up until with the coercion aspect of it, where people who are, for lack of a better term, required by corporate America to make these apologies and etc. are coerced into doing so. I don't think DaBaby was made to bow down in this situation. I think DaBaby made homophobic comments and he deserved to apologize for his behavior because they were unnecessary. I think also not only was he homophobic on that event, he was misogynistic on that event. I think DaBaby is not a good example of any. I personally don't think that most Black men should even want to relate to DaBaby in any way. I personally
I agree with that.
That his behavior is atrocious and offensive. And just to quickly speak to what you mentioned about the way that the media are portraying Black men as anti-Semitic and etc. I think that in general, with powerful men, there is an opportunity for the media to sensationalize certain behavior. Because I recall when Mel Gibson was basically crucified for his anti-Semitic comments. And no one can say that he didn't suffer. He suffered. He lost movie deals. He lost endorsements. He lost People were ready to sue him. I mean, he definitely got crucified, not only for his anti-Semitic comments, but for the fact that he said to his girlfriend that he wouldn't care if she went out and got raped by a pack of black men or something along those lines.
Oh, he got
crucified. Yeah, exactly.
He thought he was a nigga
for his anti-Semitic behavior and his racist behavior. And he's clearly a white male. So I think in general, in my opinion, there is an intent of the media to sensationalize anytime a powerful man makes these kind of comments. I'm going to be real with you all. I think that in the Black community, there is definitely a fine line between having a disagreement about what people consider to be okay for someone's lifestyle and outright being biased against them. I think some Black men are scared to say they don't care what the LGBT community is doing for fear of being deemed gay themselves, and that's so scary to their masculinity that they won't even speak up and make that comment. In fact, I know some who are like that, who are not gay themselves, but won't even just say, and it's not that I expect that they have to, go out and join Pride Weekend or etc. But like to even say, hey, I don't have any problem or I don't care about what's happening in the LGBT community. They are free to live their lives. I know some Black men who won't even make those comments for fear of being deemed gay, which is just too just deafening and scary to them, which is sad, because you are not going to be any less of a man because you're not homophobic. And I think that's something that is a serious problem in the Black community. I am not saying, as I've said on many, many occasions, I am an advocate for humanity. I am not an advocate for any specific movement. And my entire point is human beings have an inherent right to live, just in general. Human beings in general, if they are born, they have a right to live their life the way they want to. I don't give a fuck if someone wants to marry a tree. That is not my business. If them and that tree is going to be hugging happy, trees, though. Just put it out there. Marry all the fucking trees you want to marry. I don't care.
I don't marry them, but I do hug them though. It's
right, exactly. I love trees too. But if someone wants to go out and marry a tree, that doesn't have anything to do with me. And I am an advocate of people being allowed to live their lives the way they want to live their lives, as long as they are not infringing on anyone else who has the right to live their life the way they want to. And so I just wanted to clarify that.
So I wanted to actually chime on what Pat was saying, but that is something I definitely believe in, that basically, the whole bigotry and the anti-Semitic and whatnot, because they are choosing. So if I say something that, anti-Semitic against like Jewish people or like those who are German and whatnot, or we can take it down the line to like any other European, I'm deemed as this, but then I will be the one to tell you that, I ain't got no problem having sex with any other race and whatnot, So once I put it out there, like, what else you got for me and whatnot, But depending on how situations are taken and how situations are drawn, everyone's trying to find this one thing to put everyone in check and whatnot. But the one thing that bothers me the most is that anytime, towards this bigotry and, anti-Semitic towards any brother, any person who's Black, and they say something like that, it just goes against that. They want you to forget about that slavery ever happened, because I don't like to say the white man, but basically the Arabs, the Europeans, and those from the UK were basically the ones who created the slave trade. Well, the Arabs did, but they're the ones who kept continuing the slave trade, and they all basically benefited from the slave trade and whatnot, And they don't want to say what they did, but then they don't want you to feel ashamed of what they did. But when we tell them, like, you know, your ancestors did this, how do you feel about it? That's when everyone goes in the corner and cry and whatnot. But then if I say something after that, you know, towards, you know, someone's sexual preference and everything, you want to bear me down to the ground and whatnot until like there's nothing left for me and whatnot, you know? So to me is, I feel like they're always not picking sides and everything. They've already learned how to use, like I told everyone, their labels, and learn how to basically separate and divide people, which is basically distinguish, which is basically discriminate, you know, to create all this, you know, friction, I would like to use because it's a better term. Mm-hmm. So I definitely agree with you on that, Pat. That's the thing that I feel like that's a divisive, you know, tactic, I would say, they use, you know, to create, you know, this friction that we always have about this and whatnot, you know?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Sure. I mean, because so, and just I just want to just end it off a little bit, you know, because like DaBaby could have said that, you know, if he would have said that, you know, to a gay person, oh, it would have been shit over fan and whatnot. But he just said it while he was performing and whatnot, you know, and that's what, you know,
completely unnecessarily.
It was,
and for no other reason than being homophobic. Mm-hmm. It would be different if it was like someone walked in and saw two people giving each other head in a parking lot or something. His comment, just like bringing out Tory Lanez right after Megan Thee Stallion, was nothing but a show of his ridiculous behavior and personality. What was the purpose of bringing out Tory Lanez right after Megan Thee Stallion, who actually was arrested and charged with the assault? Because he shot her in the foot because she wanted to get out of the car because they were in an argument. That was the reason he shot her. And
must
so
not love hoes,
DaBaby thought it was funny to bring out Tory Lanez right after Megan Thee Stallion performed. He's just a ridiculous human being. It's just that simple. There was no validity to anything he done. He is not a Christian who decided he didn't believe in the LGBTQ community because it was against Christianity or any kind of moral or anything that he has. He just wanted to be homophobic and misogynistic that day. So he decided to do it. For me, it's just that simple. At this point, it's not even anymore the topic about being buck broken. Speaking directly to what DaBaby did, there was nothing noble about his actions. There is no cause for it. Nothing. Right. No, you didn't. But I'm just saying, like, he didn't do it for a reason. I can see if you all were saying, like, for instance, Nick Cannon made his comments because he felt like the material that he was putting out or the statement that he was making was something he felt the public needed to know, right? Or that he felt like it was going to actually make a difference for the public to know. Now, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong or that is truthful or non-truthful, but there was a legitimate reason behind why Nick Cannon wanted to do what he did. DaBaby's was to spread hate. It's unnecessary. It was to spread hate against Megan Thee Stallion when he brought out Tory Lanez and misogyny, and it was to spread hate against the LGBTQ community for no reason.
All right, so I just want to add something real quick because I know we're trying to get to the next subject. But what I will say is, so with my stance, I just want to make it clear that I'm not advocating for DaBaby. I'm not in any kind of agreement with him. I'm not, I'm not backing him. Mm-hmm. I just want to make that clear. I don't listen to his music. I don't even know any of his songs. Like, I don't, the buck breaking.
Not again. I don't care about none of these artists.
Finally, the nonchalant comment finally came. The nonchalant comment finally came.
This is no disrespect. These artists can do what they do, make their money, whatever. You know,
so he don't even exist right now, Pat. Does he even exist?
Yeah, they exist, and they do their thing.
He on the same level as Iggy Azalea, man.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's just how I look at it. So, they exist. They're doing what they do, and they make money, which is cool. You got to do what you got to do to, put money in your pocket, feed your family, whatever. So I don't fuck with their music. I don't listen to any of these people. So the buck breaking part, I just thought the corporate buck breaking, I saw that going on, and I just wanted to speak more to that, just that. I'm not trying to, I'm not pro DaBaby, because like I said, I don't listen to his music. I don't know any of his songs. Like, I don't follow him. So I can't, I just look at it as, he's just another rapper who's being buffoonish, pretty much. He just got on stage and said some stupid shit. It's just pretty much that. That's how I look at it.
That night would have been perfect for him to wear the damn diaper, because he was out.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a nigga who wore a diaper. So, I just look at it as
actual diaper, y'all.
Right, an actual diaper.
Hit me to that too. That's so crazy.
You could have gave him a rattle, and he could have shaked it and be like, "Yeah."
Oh my gosh! So I actually couldn't believe that when you all hit me to that. I was like,
"Yeah, he
an actual diaper."
Wow. Yeah. So basically, I just look at it as, he's just being a buffoon. Yet another rapper being a buffoon, and that's what happened. Right. But as far as the power play of it all, that's what I was more focused on. So I just wanted to make that clear for the listeners out there.
Sure, absolutely. All right. Thank you, fellas. That was definitely an interesting one. Moving on to the next subject, we're going to get into... Oh, I'm sorry, man. Did you have something? Okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I didn't really think this conversation was going to be this juicy. I ain't going to lie.
Yeah, we definitely had some
conversation was going to be this juicy.
Yeah, I think we definitely had some thoughts.
But let's continue to the next subject.
Yeah, it was great dialogue, great stuff. Absolutely. So moving on to the next subject, let's talk about the Verzuz. So for those of you who are not familiar, on Instagram, every once in a while, there is a competition held by, I think it's officially called like Verzuz TV, and that's VERZUZ TV. And it's only through Instagram, to my knowledge, so you can catch it. But basically, we're two artists. I think so far, all of them have been R&B or hip hop, basically go against each other, playing their hit songs. And then the public decides who won, the battle, because it's hit per hit, right? It's hit versus hit. And recently, we just had the iconic battle of the Louch versus Dipset, the diplomatic community, Harlem. Dipset. Let me just say this. If you have not seen that battle, go back and watch it. Go to YouTube. If you're a hip hop head, if you're a fan of the 90s, 2000 era hip hop, and you want that fresh nostalgia for that ass, go back and watch that Verzuz. It was definitely very hip hop, definitely very New York. My guy Jadakiss went ham, to say the least. But the official question.
He did go ham, but Dipset won still.
Ham, sir. He went ham.
Whoa, hold on. So, Dipset won?
You heard him throw that in there, right? We're going to have to address that.
Like I told everybody. Yes.
Let me get the question out, and then I'm going to give everybody a chance.
Because
wow.
Okay, let me get the question out, E-Man, and then I'm going to let everybody speak on their piece on that one and other in general. But so the question is Verzuz good for hip hop culture or not? So I'm going to go ahead and start this off. I think, E-Man, we can go ahead and start with the comment you just made. So my question is absolutely. because as you can see right now, we're talking about everything. Now, before I jump into my whole, soliloquy about it, let me address something. Dipset did not win, okay? Jadakiss ate that ass up by himself. Okay? And
like I said, Dipset. The Locks. Look, like I told everyone like this, I ain't got no beef with nobody. Based upon this whole versus battle thing, right? They keep talking basically the whole thing was basically based upon hits, because I forgot who went against Snoop and whatnot. I forgot who went against Snoop
DMX.
And whatnot.
It was Snoop and DMX.
Now, Snoop went against DMX. Now
they said it was a tie.
So
some people said
they said it was a tie. No. DMX won because when it comes to hits, Snoop got. When we talk about actually putting them out, DMX actually won, because the simple fact is DMX hits overrides Snoop Dogg's hits and whatnot.
I feel like that was,
even though it's an East and West Coast thing, because West Coast has a style and whatnot, but the West Coast music style can't really bump to like East Coast hits and whatnot.
Sure.
If many people, if that makes sense to everyone, because the West Coast has a style. Because I told everybody, I love West Coast music. Like I listen to Eazy-E and whatnot, and because I like the West Coast like smooth, because I listen to not just a lot of funk and jazz, but they also like that up tempo 70s like pop joint with the mixture of like the whole funk and whatnot. How it was in like in the 70s, like the 70s and whatnot, and that's most of the music that they sample in their music and whatnot.
Yeah, so, no, I can see that, but I feel like just to speak to your first point, the Dipset versus the Locks for me was a clear win to the Locks, because if you look at the way the Verzuz is set up, the Verzuz is really, it's a battle of the groups, but it's also more so a battle of the DJs, right? Your DJ got to be on point, right? Like if you, because you don't know your opponent's lineup, you don't know what they're going to play until they play it. So then your response has got to trump basically the song that they just played before that. And so what happened in the situation with this last Verzuz? So I'm going to go ahead and throw this out. This is a spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, or you may want to go ahead and turn this off if you haven't seen it yet. But basically what happened is at the beginning of the Verzuz, and let me tell you how hyped we were to listeners. We were driving back from vacation and I was like, no, we got to put this on while we're driving back so that we can listen. But so what happened in the beginning was they were arguing about who was even going to go first. And Dipset was like, no, the Locks go first. You're in Madison Square Garden. You're in our city or whatever. We're going to let y'all go first and etc. Like Dipset didn't want to go first. So Jadakiss and Locks and
Dipset has like, okay, bigger catalog than them.
Well, so
I don't know about that.
And the Locks and them was like, we're going to go first. We got this. Listen, they came out the
We're
gate
talking about
strong.
Groups, though.
And then before you even know it, it kind of faded to like Dipset versus Jadakiss, because I mean, let's keep shit a buck, right? Anyone who's a real hip hop head,
of course, it's gonna look like that.
Well, but what I'm about to say though is anyone who's a real hip hop head knows that Jadakiss is that dude. Okay, he is lyrical.
Of course, we all know
genius.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely,
he is lyrical genius by himself, but a real hip hop head knows that the Locks in general are lyrical. That's what most people know of the Locks.
Of course.
They don't really know that Sheek, Louch, and Styles P are also dope as fuck.
Oh yeah, they get busy.
Just they like get down. So what you had was three lyrical, right? But so my point is like you had three lyrical assassins against some swaggy rappers. The two lyrical ones who were there, like if the two lyrical
swaggy rappers that make hits though,
they do. But we talking about what ended up happening that night. Like Hell Rell and J.R. Ryder were more lyrical than anyone who was present that night. And those two weren't there. So basically all you had was swaggy rappers against some lyrical assassins. They had no chance once it became a let's start spitting the lyrics, let's get into this rap shit thing. That's when it ended for Dipset. And let me comment this. I love Dipset. Diplomatic Immunity was one of my favorite albums. I absolutely could listen to it on repeat. I was big into Dipset during their whole reign. I was a Cameron fan even before Dipset came out. Like, I loved them, but I also love the Lox, and I'm sorry, but they lost. Like, no question.
It'd be kind of crazy because I was never a Cameron fan at all. I love his music, but I was never a fan of him, only because I love Jadakiss more. Just putting it out there and whatnot. Plus, my favorite New York rapper is DMX, by the way. So I can't disrespect the X-Men and whatnot.
Sure.
Just saying.
Sure. Okay. No worries. I can completely understand that. But and not that any of us would, because DMX is that dude. I just think that the DMX and Snoop battle definitely was even, in my opinion. I love both of them. I love the music they played. But
DMX won.
Okay. Getting back to the matter at hand, is Verzuz good for hip hop culture or not? I'm going to go ahead and lead us off on this. I'm going to say it absolutely is, especially the spectacle of two artists that we've always wanted to see on stage together, not only being on stage, right? Just the general stage presence of those two, personalities, whether it's groups or individuals, but also battling each other in some sense. Like, for hip hop heads, the idea of battles is dope anyway, right? Like, that's why so many of us are into the whole, battle scene back when Cassidy was the king and, the whole URL, all of that stuff, right? Like, that's really a major part of hip hop for some of us hip hop heads, right? And I know this gonna sound petty, but I definitely think there's true hip hop heads, and then there's like casual hip hop fans. I'm just going to keep that shit above. I think there are some people who are like true hip hop heads, which I think every one of us three are. And then I think there are some people who are just casual fans who like, yeah, they listen to some hip hop music, but the only thing they can give you is like shit that play on the radio. And anybody who's a true hip hop head knows there's way more to it than that. But so the genuine
so sorry to cut you off now, Angel. I'm gonna let you continue, but I'm taking a shot at most of these casual fans. So see, the thing about what it is that most people who are casually into in the hip hop and whatnot, they're more like seasoned people, so they'll be like, yeah, I know this group, but then I don't, or I like listening to it, and I don't. So I feel casual people should not have an opinion. That's just me, though. But I'm gonna let you continue.
Oh boy.
Okay. No worries. I feel you, sir.
You wrote opinion.
But so, in general, what these verses do is, for us real hip hop heads, it provides that sense of nostalgia. You're seeing two of, for some of us, our favorite artists coming head to head. And more often than not, these things have ended with just like great mutual respect between the two parties. If you look at Gucci Mane and Jeezy, they had a beef for the longest time. And even right now, they are not the best of friends. But after the verses, they actually kind of, for lack of a better term, I'm going to use this New York term right here, deaded some of their beef, right? So it was like the verses is definitely substantial to hip hop culture at this time, because not only are we getting exciting, performances every time these parties come together, but it's actually also affecting the artist. For most of you who don't know, Jadakiss's streams increased by 200% after the verses.
Oh yeah, I heard
that is crazy. Yeah, because
I'm gonna tell everyone like this. I'm sorry to cut you off now, Angel. The thing when it comes to Jadakiss, right? I feel there's a lot of casual fans that talk bad about Jadakiss and whatnot. A lot of casual fans and whatnot. So
they don't know any better.
Right. I was actually getting
ready
to say
they don't know better.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was just getting ready to say. It's because they don't know any better. And back in the day, they were just like casual fans who basically just, they would hear Jadakiss on a feature and they would think that was all there was to him. Like Jadakiss even came out in his song Why and said, why I be saying the hottest shit but be selling the least. And it's because he wasn't like a commercial rapper to most people. Right.
And that's the one thing I was going to get at, because I'm going to tell everybody like this. Why was back when Why he actually hit, because that was actually, I think, his most played song on the radio next to We Gonna Make It, though, because even though that song was damn good and whatnot, the reason he came up with Why, because, you know, when you're not a commercial rapper, you know, and this is why you have a lot of casual fans, they don't really, you know, appreciate good music, you know.
Right.
And
agreed.
I told everyone, you know, and that's why a lot of people was like, yo, why do you like Redman so much? I was like, have you actually listened to that man's music before you even say? Well, I'm like,
all right,
because like many, and it's crazy because the many people that like it because I listen to somebody else. Like, they don't. Yeah, that's the reason why. Because the one thing that got me really listening to Redman was actually Method Man, by the way, and whatnot. Because I thought Method Man was dope, but I feel like Redman's better though. But that's just my opinion. But everyone has their opinion. But that's just me and whatnot. That's just me. So, but
yeah. But
and it goes the same thing with Jadakiss and whatnot. So, but it goes the same thing back with Jadakiss and whatnot, because there were more NY rappers still getting radio play, but yet he was still out too and whatnot, you know. But
but people didn't listen. The point that I was making, and I agree with you, is that people didn't listen to Jada outside of features because they aren't actual hip-hop heads. Like anyone who listened to any mixtape at all that Jada was ever a part of could not be unaware of his skill set. If you were a true hip-hop fan and truly listened to not only the album but actual mixtapes that Jada released, there's no way that you could have any doubt or not be in the know about the fact that that man is a lyrical genius. Not only was he killing it on features that he was on, but he would get on mixtape. His lyricism is so ridiculous that he could be featured on someone's track and spit better than that person. That happened. One of the songs that comes to mind that I think about is Mano High Hater. Okay. On that remix, and I love Mano, don't get me wrong, I thought Mano was swaggy. I'm not saying he's the most lyrical rapper anyway. In general, I thought he was swaggy, and I'm still cool with the dude. But like on that remix, High Hater, Fabulous and Jadakiss went the fuck off on that song. And I don't think people even really paid attention to what was being said. That man Fabulous said he's so NY like the folks that made PlayStation. Son, I'm just saying that.
That's really dope.
NY like the folks that made PlayStation. And Jadakiss, he not only was he flowing, he was flowing so quickly that if you weren't really paying attention, and I listened to the words, I focus on the words because I am a fan of lyricism in hip hop. If you didn't actually listen to the word, you would have to go back and rewind it to catch what he said. That man was shitting on that track. And that's why I say any true fan of hip hop already knew that Jadakiss was that dude. But getting back to the subject at hand, the verses specifically, I'm going to wrap up my point so we can move on to you fellas, is yes, verses is definitely good for hip hop culture. definitely significant. If nothing else, it brings back that feeling of nostalgia and excitement. I'm going to throw out a little message to all my rappers out there today. Please, please, please understand that for us true hip hop heads, true fans of what hip hop meant when it originated, the mumble rap doesn't cut it for us. You're killing us out here. Take a note from this recent Verzuz and understand the importance of appreciating your craft, of having respect for your craft. It is not enough to have a dope beat. You gotta come with some lyrics someone actually gives a fuck about, because at the end of the day, there are not too many rappers that have respect for their craft anymore. People are just out here taking dope beats and saying whatever on it. There's literally a song where it's just like Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. What the fuck is that? Listen, stop it. Stop it right away. I can't take it. It drives me crazy. Okay.
What's the new Soulja Boy song? What's the new Soulja Boy song?
I don't know. I saw it like for the first 10 seconds, and then I was like, there's no way I'm going to finish watching this shit. And I can't even tell you what the name of the song is, because Soulja Boy is y'all know Soulja Boy is the first rapper to have two eyes.
No, I got it.
Soulja Boy is the first rapper to have two ears. Soulja Boy is the first rapper to be black. He is so ridiculous. He says I'm the first rapper to do that. I don't give a fuck. You're the first rapper to suck on a thong and sell well. You can own that, because all those songs back then were swaggy, but they were trash. But anyway, I digress. I can go on forever. I'm going to go ahead and cut myself off and officially throw this to E-Man. What say you? Official question: is Verzuz good for hip hop culture or not?
It's really good, but I got into the whole Soulja thing, like his new song called "She Make It Clap," and then he'd be like whispering like "She make it clap, clap, clap." Like it seems like he's like you playing patty cake and whatnot, as an adult. I'm just saying, but I would say this, they're not, I love them. I can't say I love them. I can't say I've hated them. I only watch a few of them. But what I say is this shit needs rules and whatnot. Like we need actual rules.
That I agree with.
I need y'all to go get a referee and whatnot. Get Cool Herb. That's what y'all need to go get Cool Herb. You guys all have a meeting and whatnot, and let him write down all the rules to a Verzuz battle. Like I want rules to this things and whatnot. I don't want no free for all and everybody saying this, that, and the third and whatnot. Because the one that pissed me off, I think someone said that Bobby Brown beat Keep Sweating and whatnot. Then those two went at it, right? And whatnot. Supposedly, was it those two? No. It was Keep Sweating Babyface, right? Am I lost?
Wait, say it again.
So I thought, was it Keith Sweat and Babyface? Those are the two that went at it, right?
No, it was Keith Sweat and Bobby Brown.
That's what I thought. So I was right the first time. So Keith Sweat and Bobby Brown went at each other. And now here comes the thing. I tell people I love R&B and I love Bobby Brown, but there was no way you about to beat Keith Sweat in there, because I could tell everybody, ain't nobody gonna beat a man that tall with good wave, and he's singing a song called Nobody and whatnot. Because he had brothers singing that damn song and whatnot. So, and even though, like, I wouldn't say Keith has, like, a small catalog, but, like, the R&B ones were, like, it was really good and whatnot, The one I didn't get was Babyface. He was going against Teddy Riley, correct, and whatnot? I think that was that one.
Yeah, I think that was
it was that one. See, that one made sense.
Teddy Riley,
but yeah, that one made sense. But I knew that joint was going to be a fiasco and whatnot, a huge fiasco. You see, so we're not just comparing that one apples to oranges, but when you got music, so I wouldn't say outdated, but more music where those fellas are now they're getting up in the age, and a lot of us know them because some of us were kids, but other people don't know who they were because when their music came out, you know, they were just born and whatnot. So they don't know too much of Babyface, you know, or Teddy Riley and whatnot, you know. So, you know, it depends on who's doing them and who they're going against. That's one thing. You know, another thing is, you know, when you look at, you know, the Locks and, you know, Dipset and whatnot, you know, to me, and people can get mad about this, you know, I felt Dipset was an actual group and whatnot, you know, an actual group, you know, they were an actual group, you know, even though they did stuff individually, they had individual albums, they were an actual group. The Locks are actually individual lyricists who are basically, you know, they're considered as a group, but they're more independent artists who make good music as a group and whatnot, you know? And I feel like that is the remedy to make good music, but towards this Dipset, they're the group that makes hits and whatnot, you know? It goes back to, you know, just like how, you know, we have our 3LWs, you know, our SWVs, you know, our En Vogues, you know, what other good groups are out there that I'm thinking about? TLC, you know. So depending on, you know, what the remedy was, you know, it was, you know, it all depending on what they are and what they ain't. And what I mean by that is, you know, what type of music they playing out and how it resonates with other people and whatnot, you know? And the thing about with New York, they had not just a lot of rappers, but they had a whole lot going on. And I think that's the beautiful thing about New York and whatnot. But I can say this, a lot of people still mad. I feel like Dipset won because they're a group, because I feel like the verses don't have no rules, and everything that I was watching in the beginning, they based it on towards, you know, the hits versus, you know, not so more towards the lyrics. Because when I started telling everyone this, that, and the third, everyone got mad at me. Mom was like, how are they weighing this shit out? Because like you got different people off different scales. Like an example, like Snoop is a really good freestyle and whatnot, but Snoop makes good hits and whatnot, but he's not the best hip hop artist out, you know, in the West Coast and whatnot, you know. So that's just me, and that's my opinion and whatnot. But people get mad about that. But I've listened to Snoop since Snoop's been out, because when Snoop came out, I was a kid. So, you know, I've listened to when he first started to where he's at right now. So my opinion might not matter to you, but I've actually listened to Snoop. Like most of you guys probably hadn't listened to Snoop until, you know, he did like the whole blue carpet like treatment and whatnot, like up in the mid 2000s. So yeah, but it's good. It's good in one sense, but it's not good in other sense, because, you know, many people might not know, you know, an artist, like, you know, they're like not just their craft, but like, you know, have you listened to their music when they first came out versus is what you're listening to now, you know, that basically varies and whatnot, you know, and I think that's the thing. So it's good in a sense because, you know, we're getting back good music, but it's bad in the sense, you know, who are we calling the winners, you know, at the end of the day? You know, what are the rules behind this? Like, what are we doing to make sure, like, you know, not because we're chalking up points and whatnot, but we want to make sure, you know, everyone gets in the ring fairly, and it's a fair fight. So we know what we're debating most is on. Are we debating on, you know, the hit versus that hit, or are we comparing it basically to the lyrics to versus the hits, you know, or their lyrics against their lyrics and whatnot, you know? That's all I'm saying. So yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate you for sharing your thoughts on that. Mr. PAT, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you to wrap us up on the subject, sir. Is Verzuz good for hip-hop culture or not? What say you?
So before I answer that question, the Locks absolutely crushed Dipset.
Yes, they did.
Absolutely.
Jadakiss destroyed Dipset. That is a.
The Locks
Jadakiss destroyed Dipset.
Whether we want to say Jadakiss,
we got that.
I mean,
you know,
I gotta say the Locks because Styles P and
you could say Jadakiss. Let's say
Jadakiss definitely did his thing. I mean, of course, he stole the show, but come on, the Locks won. I mean,
period.
Period.
Let's not act like Styles and Sheek are not lyrical. Okay? They lyrical as hell too.
Yes.
What are you talking about? See, what I've been wanting was Jadakiss and Styles P to actually do like a whole, not just an album together, but like I wanted them to be like a whole group and like just those two and whatnot. I feel like they would take down any duo out there and whatnot. That would have been like that's like Batman and Robin right there. In my eyes,
they have their songs together where it's just them two.
They play off of each other.
Oh yeah, they play off each other real
some of the songs they did together. If you listen to them, they're playing off of each other, which I really enjoyed so much.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
yeah, but you notice the Locks chemistry in general was better than Dipset's, right?
Oh yeah,
what you got with Dipset was like a bunch of just swaggy, different personalities. Whereas the Locks, they are actual homies that vibe and gel together.
Yeah, their chemistry was just off the charts. And I think that really contributed to their win. Yeah, their chemistry is undeniable. It's just undeniable. So
I don't know, because Jim Jones, because when Dipset started, like Juelz Santana was like 21, and I think Jimmy was like shit. I think
Juelz was 18, I think.
He's like 17.
Yeah, he was a young kid.
He was young.
He was young. Yeah, he was a young teenager.
Around our age.
I just know he was extremely young.
He's around our age.
Yeah, I think he's around our age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. I know Jimmy's a little older, and Cameron, I think he's close to Jay-Z age or somewhere in between.
Cam been around for a while. So, He's been around for a minute.
Cam was a while. Like Cam was around. Like people forget that Cam was around before Dipset.
Yeah.
Like Cam actually did used to be a ghostwriter.
That's what people forget.
A lot of people don't know that, but Cam back in the day, like when he first started, actually was a ghostwriter, which tells you that like it gives you a brief idea of the league between like East Coast rappers and some other rappers, because generally, I don't know if this is just my perception, but I feel like especially more so with the East Coast, like being a bum at lyricism is not like really cool, right?
It's
like
not.
That was more of something
that's true
that came from the South and other places. Like on the East Coast back then, if you sucked at being lyrical or if you ain't really have bars, like somebody was gonna call you out about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
And I think that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like people just need to be called out. Like,
right.
I mean, if your bars ain't up to par, then like you just need to be called out for it. That shit, like period. Like it really needs to go back.
Get your bars right.
Like get your bars up. That's just that's how it
whole
should be.
Facts.
Like get your bars up, man. What you doing out there?
But yeah, Dipset lost. And don't get me wrong, like I fuck with some of Dipset's music, so no disrespect to them, but the Locks won, and it was clear that night. They won because, like, the way I look at it, it's that difference between emceeing and rapping. See, Dipset, they were rapping, they was rapping, but the Locks were emceeing. They you saw them as MCs, like they really had a control over the crowd. We mentioned their chemistry, of course. They're great lyricists. I mean, the Locks, they took that. They dominated. Straight up, they dominated, especially Jadakiss, because we all know
it's so funny you said that though, Pat. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I saw it as MCing and rapping too, but I switched the terminologies around. I felt like it was like the Locks who was doing the rapping, because I consider rapping like you actually taking the time to put towards your craft and being lyrical, whereas someone who's just MCing could just be on the stage trying to get the crowd hype, but they're not actually spitting any bars. It's just so funny because I agree with you, but I kind of like reverse the terminology.
No. What you're saying is true because like MCing originally was, you know, what you just said, where it was just, you know, people like whoever's up there, they just want to get the crowd going, really, you know, because MC is master of ceremonies, so they're just really, they're controlling the crowd, and they didn't necessarily have to be lyrical. So yeah, from that standpoint, yeah, I see what you're saying, and I mean that's correct. But for me, like when I talk about MC, and here we go with, you know, words taking on, I guess, different
this is a great example.
But when I look at an MC, like I look at the MC as like the total package, and of course that includes lyricism. So I actually put an MC above a rapper. Like to me, lyricist and MC are like above rapper, because nowadays it's like anybody could be a rapper. It you know, it's one of those things where like if you just rhyme words,
Soulja Boy made it happen. No,
it's you know, basically whenever you just rhyme words, like it's like you're just a rapper. I mean, the music today clearly is evidence of this, where you got dudes mumbling and it's called rap. You know,
but see, I don't consider them rappers. I don't care what someone title want to give them, but they ain't rapping to me.
Right. They're to us, they're not.
They just artists.
But just right.
They hip hop artists.
I don't even consider them artists. I just see them as, you know, they're really just entertainers. They're just
exactly.
You know, so but to the world and you know, the world at large, they're looking at the music. You know, they're like, oh well, these guys do rap. So that means they're a rapper.
I mean, they said the same. I see what you're saying, but they said the same thing. They call Houdini and the Sugar Hill Gang. They didn't call them a rap group. They didn't call them a rap group. They just called them entertainers. You know,
right? And people were looking at them like that back then, because you had dudes who were about their lyrics back then, and yeah, like Sugar Hill Gang and Houdini or whoever.
Grandmaster Flash and the Fantastic Five. The message was lyrical as fuck.
Right. And those guys, they were looking at like I said, the Sugar Hill Gang and Houdini or whoever else. They were like, oh, nah, these guys are too commercial. Like they're pop. We got lyrics over here, like, you know. So there was always that kind of, I guess, tension or that you know, that split where you know, there's people who, you know, they're rapping, they're entertaining, and which that's fine. That has its place in rap music. But then you have the other side of it where there are those who are really focused on their craft. Like you could tell, like you could listen to their music and you could hear what they're saying, and you really can get the substance out of it, you know, out of their lyrics. They're really just their music in general. So there was always that difference. But yeah, like I was saying, so I always put MC above rapper just because I feel like MC is like the total package. Like they just crush in all areas. So the Locks to me had that. You know, they were controlling the crowd and they were the lyricists that night. You know, so Locks won. I'm gonna just put it like that.
So I'm gonna tell you like this. How many casual fans? No. So how many casual fans were out there though? I'm sure
there was a lot of them.
I feel like there was probably a lot of casual fans and whatnot. Like,
I'm sure it's definitely a mix of casual fans, the real hip hop heads. I mean, it's you know, there's the casual fans they're just, you know, they're there, you know, so that's just what it is. But to answer the question. Yeah, to answer the question directly, is Verzuz good for hip hop culture or not? So I say yes and no. I say yes because it allows most of our favorite artists and legends from decades ago to battle each other. You know, they could battle each other in the spirit of friendly competition, and at the same time give the fans what they want, which is good music. And I think that's a great thing right there. I think that's one of the best aspects of Verzuz. So I think it's good for hip hop in that sense. Now, here's the no part. I don't want to say no, it's not good for hip hop. I don't want to just blatantly say it like that. But I'm gonna just start off by saying that Verzuz was sold to Triller Network. Now, Triller.
Oh shit! When did this happen?
Oh yeah, y'all didn't hear about that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, see, here it comes. See, there it goes. I knew there was some backstory.
Yeah.
Every time we get something good,
right? That's what I'm getting at. And I'm gonna post the link in the description. But
all right, go ahead, finish up, PAT. I'm sorry, we're gonna let you finish.
So Verzuz was sold to Triller Network, and Triller Network is a white-owned company. Now, someone could be like, "Okay, Pat, and
there's always gonna be that and though."
Yeah, and
it's always gonna be that and.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like, "And so what? What are you trying to say?" But and I would say, and it's not necessarily pushing the culture forward when a business built on Black music has to be owned by a white company. Yet again, that would be my response. And I say this because if the culture is supposedly pro-Black and about Black empowerment and entrepreneurship, wouldn't that include ownership? That's just the question I have. Like, wouldn't that include ownership? When are we gonna really own our shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, when are we gonna really have solid ownership of something?
Well, the results of it, the 200% streams going up, if Jadakiss owns, his streaming rights, that definitely was beneficial. I do overall get what you're saying. In general, now we don't even own Verzuz when, that's something we should have kept, just like, we should have kept BET. I generally get
exactly.
Your point.
And that's where
I generally get your point.
So sorry to cut you off, PAT, but since you now threw that out there, now here comes my thing. Now we know, well, Trilogies, is a white-owned company, Are these Verzuz set up to kick more streams up more? Just because a lot of people, and because this is what I've shared this with a few people, but when it comes to music, we got ways that music moves so fast where it can be put out, anywhere, like streams, it's no longer the vinyls going in the stores, there's no longer the tapes, and there's no longer the CDs and whatnot that you have to go to the store. Damn, you can just get it that quick off your own computer. Like, that's how fast music keep coming.
Right.
And many people forget about music that happened 10, 12 years ago and whatnot, because they enjoy music so instantly that they're waiting for, I'm waiting for that new album. Boom. iTunes. I'm going to just go get it right now. That quick, instantly, versus as the FYE, the gates closed down, waiting in a long line when you get in the store, probably hear the previews before you play it, and then you actually want to buy, the CD or the tape and whatnot.
Oh man, that was decades ago.
And the vinyl. Yeah, and that's decades. Like, there's no longer the appreciation, about buying the music anymore. It's just like, I can just,
it's so readily available now. That's why.
So when you take that away, and I told when you start to, and this is where the whole thing about coming with value, like, you can devalue anything. The question is, how to change the value about how accessible something is, because if it's not accessible, you're going to value it more, because why? It takes time to get it and whatnot, you start depreciating, the value because it's that so accessible. Like, I can wait for that new album, but I can just go buy it on iTunes when they come out. Boom, I got it. How quick did you get it? Oh, like that, instantly, that's that thing. So
yeah, but yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and just to, I guess, wrap this up, all I'm saying is, like, in terms of ownership, Black people need to reap the most benefits from these platforms.
Absolutely.
So now we're still in a position where most of the benefits are going to a white-owned company. Yet again, because this is what happens in the music industry. The Black people are the talent, and then the white people are the ones who profit off of the talent. So I'm looking at it from that aspect. I'm looking at the power dynamic of it all. So that's why I say, is it good? Is it really good for hip hop? So I say yes and no. It's good because of the nostalgia, and we're getting great music. We're seeing our favorite artists go head to head with each other. It's great in that aspect. And I really think the nostalgia is the best part of it. Just hearing songs that we loved growing up.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's the best part. And yeah, I mean, if it's gonna add to the nostalgia, yeah, it's good for hip hop in that sense. But if it's a thing where this isn't a Black owned platform, then no, it's not good in that sense. So that's how I look at it.
That's a really good insight right there, because, and I just want to quickly end on this. For us, who are 80s babies, we definitely know we miss the 90s. We definitely miss, that feel we got when we listened to music, and all the things that we were into. And I tell people, there's a good thing about reminiscing, is that bad moment of reminiscing, to get that nostalgic feel is the good part. But then that bad part is like, just stating like, we started here, but like, look where we're at now. Like literally, like we have more entertainers than actual lyrical, musicians,
An actual MC.
An actual MC, like, and now it's questioning me about like, like, was this the formula? Like, was that it? Because like Tone Loc was an entertainer and whatnot. Young MC wrote one of his best songs and whatnot called Wild Thing and whatnot. And he was an entertainer. He had no issue saying he was an entertainer. And he still performs to this day. But the thing about it, what it is that now we're glorifying entertainment because y'all making it so easy accessible. And I blame these record labels for doing it. So it wasn't even not just about the music. It's just now about like, yo, we just gonna keep putting music out there and just, we're just gonna keep going with it. And I think that's the feel that we get when we listen to these verses about it. It's like bringing in that moment where, when I bought that first Dipset album, or when I bought my first Jadakiss album and whatnot, and how I was listening to it, and how it changed me and whatnot, and that's the feel that we always are going to get, and we're always going to enjoy, But now the downside is, how we like what got us here to now depreciate something that we got to keep enjoying more, that we used to love even more. Because I tell everyone, like, there's more casual fans in hip hop now than actual, fans, and I think that's what's really killing it, and I just want to end on that,
All righty. Thank you, fellas. Moving on to the next subject, last subject of the session. Definitely an important one, definitely something that is very prevalent to what's going on in the matrix out there. And the official question that we are going to speak on is mandatory vaccination in New York or anywhere else in our best interest. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this to Mr. PAT to start us off. What say you, sir?
All right, so there's an article on Yahoo News called New York City requires proof of vaccination for indoor activities. And then there's another article by the New York Times called NYC will require workers and customers show proof of at least one dose for indoor dining and other activities. Now, with the Yahoo News article, it basically starts off by saying New York City will require proof of vaccination for indoor venues, including restaurants, gyms, and performances as a condition of entry. Now, I'm going to say this, and this is from the article. So, end quote, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the mandate Tuesday morning. As part of the new program, New York City is launching a health pass called Key to NYC Pass for both employees and patrons to present verification of vaccination at restaurants, concert halls, and a number of other recreational facilities. Now, this is de Blasio in quotes. He said, if you want to participate in our society fully, you've got to get vaccinated. This is what de Blasio said at the Tuesday press conference. Now, this article was posted on August 3rd. So if this mandate was announced on a Tuesday, that means that this announcement was made on Tuesday, August 3rd. So basically up there in New York, and shout out to all my folks up there in New York, by the way. So basically up there in New York, if you don't show proof of vaccination, you won't go to places to eat and you won't be able to participate in other indoor activities. I'm going to just say that I think it's ridiculous.
It is. Hold on, just to not to cut you off, PAT, but it's very interesting. They said nothing about supermarkets, you know, because a supermarket is not a venue,
right?
And a supermarket is not a restaurant, you know. So it's very interesting how it's like those.
They can't because that would prevent people from a necessity that they need in order to live.
Correct.
Right. Oh, but I honestly, I think it could get to that point, but you know. I doubt it. They didn't do that now, but I honestly think it could get to that point. But hopefully not. Hopefully not. So yeah, like I was saying, I just think that all of that I mentioned earlier is just ridiculous. And I hope that other states don't follow suit if they haven't already. Now, I won't get too deep into it on here, but when we get to a point where we are required to show proof of vaccination before we can participate in society, we are headed down a really bad path. We are headed into a society that pretty much that is saying get vaccinated or else. Now, the powers that be are attacking people's way of life in order to get more people to go get poked. I mean, I hate to say this.
Basically.
Yeah. I hate to say this, but I mean, as we said earlier, you know, we spoke on the grocery stores, but it could get to a point where grocery stores might require proof. And if you don't have that, then you can't get food. I really don't
worry. I'll meet them in court.
Yeah, I really don't want it to get to that point. And hopefully it won't. That's going to be a huge problem, by the way.
Oh no, I'm gonna take them to court. Best believe that.
Mm-hmm. You and many others. I mean, so yeah, and that's good.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna give me a crew and be like, yo, we're gonna file a class action lawsuit against them. Believe that. So,
yeah, definitely. I'm all for it because, you know, it can't get to that point. But, you know, with the way things are going, who knows? So I'm not going to go into, you know, whether or not people should go get poked. But I could say that the fear-mongering that has been taking place is really unnecessary. I'm going to just say that.
Or the jab is what they call it.
Right. I just call it the poke or the jab because
I think both are funny.
Yeah, you know, people getting jabs or they getting poked, you know, we know what it means. But yeah, you know, the fear-mongering, it's just really unnecessary. And it's a lot of it going on right now. Now, I'm not saying that the virus shouldn't be taken seriously. And I'm not saying that it hasn't cost people's lives. But I can say with confidence that the recovery rate is a lot higher than the deaths. And That's true, though. And I've looked at the numbers myself. I've looked at the numbers. The recovery rate is significantly higher. Most people are likely to survive than die. That's a fact. And like I said, for those who didn't hear me in the back, I looked at the numbers myself. But of course, the media will focus on the numbers of deaths and encourage people to go get poked.
Of course.
I mean, it's to the point where celebrities have been brought on board to promote the poke.
That is true.
And I guess for the blind worshipers and sycophants out there, they'll go line up to go get poked since their favorite celebrity said so.
That is true.
You know, we spoke on this before, but as we all know, there are many incentives out there in the Matrix. Incentives to encourage people to go get poked.
Yes, that is true. That includes gift cards, money, and groceries.
Yeah, French fries, donuts.
French fries, burgers, free bagels at Panera, you name it. Right. And donuts at Krispy Kreme's also too.
Yep, all that. But to answer the question more directly, I say no. Mandatory vaccination is not in everyone's best interest. You're damn near forcing people to do something they might not want to do.
Agree.
People say it might be in the name of health, but seriously, since when has the powers that be actually given a damn about people's health?
I agree.
I'm just wondering. I mean, we know Black people have been encouraged left and right to go get poked, but really, since when has Black people's health ever been taken into consideration? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds really want to know. And this is not even my opinion because really all we have to do is look at history.
Correct.
I'll just say that overall, mandatory vaccination is just not a good look, whether it's in New York or anywhere else. And once again, for the thought police out there listening on social media or wherever else, because I know y'all like to get on your Orwellian shit. I'm not saying that people should or should not go get vaccinated. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying any of the above. I'm not even going to speak on that. I already know Big Brother is watching. And
always.
Yeah, always. And, you know, they all like to be thought police with these stupid ass fact checkers. So I just don't think there needs to be a mandate. That's really what I'm saying. There
really shouldn't be a mandate.
So I'm gonna just end it off with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, good stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and follow up on this. And you know, honestly, fellas, my thoughts on this matter are short and sweet. Is mandatory vaccination in New York or anywhere else in our best interest? I 100% agree with Pat. The answer is no. It's in the best interest of those trying to force folks to receive the vaccine, whether the individual wants to or not. I mean, after all, at the end of the day, right, the CDC and WHO, for those who do not know, WHO stands for World Health Organization has claimed that wearing masks will prevent the spread of the virus. So if that's the case, then why wouldn't they simply go back to requiring folks to wear masks at all times? Why are you now jumping to the extreme of requiring vaccinations? That makes no sense. The entire point is to ensure their agenda is achieved by requiring this in the US's most populated city. They're thinking numbers, they're thinking influence, and at the end of the day, it really, when you think about it, is not only an obstruction of what they told us previously, but of civil liberties. Because if you think about what their original claim was, which is that people who are vaccinated cannot infect others and will not receive the virus again. But we know that now they're saying, oh, we're not exactly sure about that. I happen to personally know someone who was fully vaccinated who just caught the recent version of the virus. So I don't think in general there is enough knowledge of the virus and how it works to say that the vaccinations is the end all be all solution to the problem. Again, just like Pat, I am not speaking on whether people should or shouldn't. I personally believe it's none of anybody's fucking business. If you're vaccinated and you truly believe that you're protected by being vaccinated, you shouldn't care whether someone is vaccinated or not, because you can't catch it from them, right? Technically, that's how it's supposed to work, right? So right, exactly. So for me, it's like, why are you? It's offensive, in my opinion, when people ask or people try to infer whether or not other people are vaccinated. But I'm not even speaking on that part of it. I'm not speaking on whether people should or should not get the vaccination. My thing is the jump to requiring the vaccination makes no sense to me. The entire premise of requiring people to wear masks is by doing so, you do not infringe on anyone's civil liberties, but you also prevent the spread of the virus. Why wouldn't you just go back to making masks mandatory? Why would you jump to requiring vaccinations? Seems fishy. You don't know how
to make it make sense.
Exactly. And then to just add this other little snippet, and I really am done. That's my mindset on it. To add this other little snippet, I don't really look to anything that the New York government says as word of law, okay? They don't have the best track record for people in their government. Giuliani was a fucking buffoon. And Cuomo, for those of you who do not know, was the current governor of New York, actually just resigned today amongst allegations of sexual harassment. Let me repeat that for you.
He did it. I've seen videos.
Current New York governor up until today, so that was current as of yesterday, Governor Cuomo resigned today on August the 10th, if it's still August the 10th for you, okay, amongst sexual harassment allegations.
It's August 11th, by the way, just saying.
Well, for those on the East Coast, it's still August 10th for those on the West Coast. But, the point is that, they are obviously not the end all be all, go by us, we're the standard, we're going to steer you the right path. I think it's about the numbers game there. I think it's about the public perception, because New York City is our most populated city here in the US. And it just doesn't make any sense to me that instead of reverting back to requiring masks, they would instead require vaccinations. That leap doesn't make sense to me from a logical standpoint. It doesn't jive with the entire message of the CDC and the World Health Organization, which was that masks protect and prevent the spread of the virus. So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. It can't be only vaccinations work. Everybody has to be vaccinated, but also wear masks because it's just, you need to wear masks. I understand where their argument is coming from, and that's their argument. The jumping to the vaccinations when there is still data that suggests that fully vaccinated people have caught the recent strand doesn't make sense to me. So those are my thoughts on the matter. I'm going to throw it to E-Man to wrap us up for the evening. What say you, sir?
So I was asked, I let both of my co-hosts, let me finish last because, this is my realm. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. I love science. So this is my arena and whatnot. This is where I ball hard, and this is where I make all the shots. You can call me Kobe, of the science, or you can call me, Shaquille O'Neal, because I make sure no one kills me out of my own paint. Now, before I start and whatnot, the first thing I want to say, the goal is you got to make the shit make sense. They can't even do that.
Which it doesn't make sense.
It don't even make sense. They can't even make the shit. It's so bad they're trying to make it make sense, but they can't even make it make sense to make people do what they want to do. That's how bad it looks. You have, and before I even go with what I have to say, you have specialists that saying the shit that Fauci is saying don't even make sense and whatnot. Specialists, people who actually specialize, in a lot of pulmonary and, fields and whatnot, which, that means basically the lungs and whatnot. But, it's just the science he's putting out is not making sense because he's just talking out of his ass and whatnot. Now coming to this sense, talking about, the whole mandate thing, I tell everyone like this, I educate. That's what I do. I enjoy educating, and that's what I do. I educate minds. I educate souls. That's what I do. But my job is I'm not supposed to impose on anybody's free will. That's not my job. That's not why I was created into the universe, to impose on people's free will. It's you choose your free will towards your own health and whatnot. That is your job. My job is to educate you so you can be better healthy wise. The craziest thing about they never told anyone how to actually eat better or actually how to prevent and make yourself much more healthier towards building your immune system and whatnot. You sound like a tyrant, of forcing something that many people don't want to do. It's those who want to do it, that's fine, cool. I never fought anybody on that. But don't come over here and come and convince me towards something that you did, that you want me to fall in line with you. I'm like, nah, it don't work that way and whatnot. Because we're not one and the same. So I wouldn't even impose that rhetoric on anybody. That's not my job, But they can't even can't use the word unapologetic. They can't even be respectful about it. It's been so tyrantly. Like, go get the vaccine. It will take care of it. No, because all the research I've been looking at for the past damn near all of last year until now, that basically, yes, you can catch it by being, getting a jab or stab, and plus you can also, get it if you are what they call asymptomatic. That means you have to have some type of pulmonary disease or something like that, or you're on some type of medication that involves, with, this whole COVID thing. But COVID's also a code word, by the way, but I'm not going to break that. But based upon that, this whole COVID thing is actually connected to SARS, by the way, because it's on the test, by the way. So, which it's called COVID SARS, by the way, and SARS is basically a pulmonary, infection and whatnot. And infections are caused by viruses and whatnot, which is build up bacteria, by the way. Just to put that one out there. So And I feel like there's more gains to this because if people were really paying attention, have you noticed that, all your bigger retail stores have made more money than anybody else and whatnot? And, you know, I'm not going to say if it's a political thing, which I already know it is in my eyes, and I'm not going to push what, my thoughts or opinions are on the matter, but how I see things is how I see it. Many people hate that, because I see things differently how others see it, and that's why I would say people don't like me. And to force something on somebody is wrong. Like, have you, and I tell people like this, I'm not even religious, but I don't force my will of my spirituality on others. But yet others who are religious do the opposite way and tell you that their religion is better than your religion and whatnot, So you're telling people they're going against their own, not just their freedom of will, their own freedom of religion, their own freedom of space and whatnot. Because remember, you have the choice to go to a restaurant. You have a choice to go to a venue. You have a choice to go to the gym. These are choices that you make and whatnot. The gym's not waiting on you. The gym is a fake apparatus place with machines, towards on joint actions so that you can, get a proper, exercise routine, A restaurant's just a social gathering, where you choose to go eat. You choose the restaurants you go to and whatnot. And that came, and towards like venues and whatnot, towards like any music venue or any type of venue, towards sporting events, you choose to go there. Because why? Because you pay money that you earn throughout that currency, to go to these places. These are choices you're not forced to go into a restaurant. You're not, you're really not. But to say, you got to show proof, which, it's not even law. Like, how are we pushing law against something that's not law? Now you're going against the rhetoric of law and whatnot. Because I thought law was supposed to help keep order, which, is among the class, us as people, to make sure that everything stays in the word I don't like to use is control and whatnot. So nobody doesn't do anything crazy or heinous. But it seems like this goes way beyond law. And it seems like this thing raises a huge value over everything. Because that's what I've been seeing lately and whatnot. It seems like this thing is so big that it breaks science barriers, laws, like everything. You name it down the law. This thing is bigger than everything else and whatnot. That's what the media keep telling everybody. It's bigger than everything. Law, your way of living, even your own religion. So the media and everyone, that includes Fauci too, is telling you to go against your own free of your own beliefs and will to go get something. And that's all, that shit don't make no sense. Makes no sense at all. And that's the reason why it's not just bothering me, it's very sickening, And I tell everyone, the government has never cared about nobody's health, Why would it take so many years for them to actually care about something, especially your health and whatnot, Has any of these people come to you and talk to you physically and tell you what to do, how to better your own health? No. But yet you're willing to listen to somebody you don't even know that could tell you to get some that could actually harm you without you doing the proper research on your own to know what you're actually doing. That's the sad part at the end of the day. It's actually confusing more and more people. Like, many people feel confused because it seems like now they have to go against their own free will. Whatnot. But I tell people, don't buy in. Take care of yourself. The more you eat better, the more you build your immune system. And that's the goal to fight off any virus and whatnot. That's the biggest goal. So I'm going to just end my thought for the night. Just basically state and say, this shit makes no sense. I do not agree with any of these tactics these people are doing. I do not agree with it at all. And I tell everyone, You know, it's gonna. In my eyes, I feel it's gonna get worse because they're gonna tell people that you have to get other shots just for this and whatnot. Now you have to think about that after that also too. You know, after getting the first two, that's something that you have to think about. You know, and I feel like it's gonna get worse from the end of the day. So I'm gonna just end and state and say, you know your will, know your power, and make sure you do everything to know that whatever choice you choose to make, you live with that choice and whatnot. Because I tell everyone, if you're just getting the shot so you can go back to get a little bit of a little bit of entertainment in your life, that is very dangerous for you guys to do something like that, you know? Because it seems like everyone has their own opinions why they're doing this. But I tell everyone like this, know your will, know your power, and not just think about what you're doing, but just think about, never harm yourself until you know. That's the wrong thing to say. Don't harm yourself just because someone told you to do it, you know? And I'm going to just end my thoughts there.
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, fellas, it has definitely been a very interesting session. Great stuff.
Yes,
definitely. Yes, definitely went in on this one. To all our listeners out there, as always, we want to take the time to thank you for your support. Thank you for the outpour of love. Thank you for reaching out to us and saying, hey, I really rocked with this episode or that one. And we appreciate all of the love you show us. We're going to keep, throwing out all this excellent content. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit us up on YouTube, subscribe, like, share, get that content up as far as your subscriptions. We definitely want to make sure that you're in the know with our latest content. And also, we do have Mr. PAT and E-Man. We're going to give a shout out with some of their information because, we do have our resident rapper and web designer, PAT, and the personal trainer, Mr. E-Man. So, PAT, go ahead and drop that info, sir.
thepatchannel.com. That's right, thepatchannel.com. All my social media handles are on there. Go there, like, follow, subscribe, share videos, get into the content, listen to the music, and just get plugged in with me. Let's build, let's connect, and let's form like Voltron.
Yes, real rap. Real rap for those who don't know.
Real rap.
You want to get real rap music.
I love it, though. I love it.
And Mr. E-Man, go ahead and drop that information, sir.
All right. So you can check me out on IG, Woo Athletics 56. You can contact me there. You can send me DMs. My email's there. You can email me. I'm basically a personal trainer, holistic practitioner, taught by myself, and also a alkaline transition cook also too. So yeah, I have, wouldn't say many skills, but I got skills. Let's put it like that. But yeah, Woo Athletics, WOO Athletics with an S, 56. All right. So, but definitely check out my IG. I'm still working on the whole Facebook page. Hopefully my studio should be up and running and reopening back at the end of August and whatnot. If not, no later than early September of Labor Day and whatnot. That is the goal, and that's the goal I've been pushing. And my appointment page should be up by then. All right, but you can contact me directly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, listeners. Thanks again for checking us out here at The Good, the Bad, and the True. And to all our listeners and supporters out there, we send love. And until next time, Peace.
But yeah, but before we go and whatnot, before we go, all I gotta say is basically and whatnot. I love all my black women out there and everything. But I can still rub a good booty though. I'm just saying.
Lord have mercy.
I can still rub a good booty. So,
started off great with the love my black and then ended with booty rubs. Okay.
Yeah, we just got to. You got to do it, sir. All right. Thank you, fellas. Everyone out there, y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.